Hello, everybody.
Yes.
Welcome to today's show. It's the Transatlantic Call-In Show, and you're going to be live on the line. That's us live on the line. I had some nightmares last night, so my brain is kind of soup. I'm just going to tell y'all right out the gate. I'm here. I'm as present as I can be. The tea is kicking in. So, hi, I'm Luxander. This is Dr. Ben hosting with me today. How are you, Dr. Ben?
I'm doing okay, as far as okay as I can be under the current political circumstances. I think everybody is experiencing a little bit of escapism, because it sucks out there. And we understand that it sucks out there. So, yeah. How are you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, aside from like nightmares last night that I'm like not entirely sure where they came from, I also am engaging in some escapism lately. Like, I don't normally like plug my channel on here, but it's relevant that I'm doing movie reviews now because fuck talking about politics all the time. So today I just uploaded my I Saw the TV Glow movie review. So if there's any trans people out there who remember that movie being kind of traumatizing, and go look at my video after the stream is done to see the symbolism breakdown of all the cool stuff in that trans allegory movie. It was a lot of fun doing that video. It was a little unhinged rant kind of mood. So that's always fun. Where are you finding your escapism? What you're watching lately or something?
Well, the summer Steam sale is on right now, so I've been getting all the games that I normally wouldn't. Well, games that I wanted to buy. Mostly like simulation games because I play those. But lately, people are going to laugh at me, but other people are going to understand. But just pretending that it's fall and around Halloween time, I've been watching Halloween movies. I've been like
Nice.
putting on my scented candles and stuff. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pick my favorite time of the year, and no one can judge me because it's in my own house. So
You're in full denial. You're like,
I'm
it's the wrong time
yeah.
of year. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
That's fun. Well, at least you're honest about it. You're like, I'm deluding myself, but I'm aware that I'm deluding myself. So it's still,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
technically
exactly.
fine.
And then I stumble across whatever's going on in politics, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to go back to what I was doing.
Yeah, I'm trying to downregulate my sympathetic nervous system because of my POTS and like having a lot of symptoms and stuff of this like chronic illness. So yeah, getting off of social media is, I think, a necessary thing that we should all be trying to do. Take some time away from the computer, lay down on the floor and stare at the ceiling for like 5 minutes. Trust me, it's good for your brain to do that. So yeah, just it's tough being trans. It's tough talking about trans issues, but we're here. We're holding down the fort. We're keeping things going, and we're here to take some calls. So if you're interested in calling us, whether you are a person who's been accused of being transphobic, if you're somebody who agrees with us about some things, you're trying to get your arguments honed in, give us a call. The information is in the description, but the phone number, if you want to just call us, is 720-619-2288. If you're an international caller, we have a web caller that we have so that you don't have to pay like crazy fees on your phone. But get on the wait list. We have an open queue. We've got lots of spots open today, so feel free to hop in there. And with all that, I guess let's talk about last week's poll, because I was not here, I don't think, last week.
Yep.
Yeah. Do we need more trans people running for office? What was up with that, Ben?
Oh, this was kind of a great way for Josie to share her campaign with the audience. But yeah, we do definitely need more trans people. We need more representation for everybody. But since I was here last week, Lux, you had some thoughts about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we do need more trans people running for office, because I think that like if you have a minority group, they should be represented. Like, it's this idea that, women need to be present when we're having discussions about women's rights, and trans people should be present when we're talking about trans rights, and Black people should be present when we're talking about police brutality and all this kind of stuff. So it just seems really obvious to me that the answer to this is yes. This one had like a greater percentage of no's than I think we usually get. Like we had a greater number of people who are in opposition. Like our audience is fairly trans friendly. But the reason apparently is that you all are a bunch of pedantic little shits who
Yeah.
say things like,
Yeah.
well, we should have qualified candidates in office and competent candidates in office, which like maybe some of you didn't mean for it to come across that way, but the total volume of you guys who said that, first of all, Ben pointed out when we were in the pre-show that like what you're kind of implying is that trans people are not competent by default. And I also urge any of you who had that thought process to question, like, do you think someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is qualified or not, or competent or not? Because she was just a bartender, right? This idea that like any given trans person isn't qualified to contribute to discussions about the well-being of our nation or of our communities is like where is the bar for competent and qualified? Like most of our lawmakers are lawyers, which you would think are the most qualified people because they know the law, but like they continuously screw us over all the time. So it seems like those are not necessarily the people who are going to have the like good of the most people in their sights.
Right. Like we need
so I just
class
think it's goofy.
representation. We need more class representation. Like you can't have all rich people. I mean, what a lot of our lawmakers are rich people, and they're making decisions on behalf of rich people, and they don't understand what it's like to need food stamps. They don't know what it's like to need um like assistance with healthcare bills. Like
Mm-hmm.
you need representation more across the board to represent the people whose interest you're trying to fulfill, right? Like the whole point of representation isn't just to uh I don't know, it's not just to sit there and argue about all these issues. Like it is to represent the people who elected you, right? Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
point. And the fact that people will question whether or not a trans person is like qualified or not are often the same people that wouldn't bat an eye at a white man running for office. Like it's just odd. Like you're going to make that pedantic argument of, well, but is this trans person qualified? Well, are you going to say the same thing about any white person running for Congress? Because like if not, then uh you have an issue with bias.
Yeah, it's
So
definitely it's a bias. Like we have this reflexive kind of this type of person is capable or this type of person is going to be a good leader or whatever. And like it's interesting too because I feel like I'm just going to relate this back to movies because that's the simple thing to do. Uh, but like we have all these movies with male leads and they're telling a very masculine story. And in those movies, other types of people are not very well fleshed out. But then you'll get female directors and female stories, and they tend to have well-rounded characters all around. So it honestly seems like we like supporting more minorities in office would mean better outcomes for everybody because it seems like when minorities and marginalized people are given the opportunity to lead, we have a tendency to do it in a more in a more holistic manner. Like we tend to uplift more people and address more needs. Whereas, like currently the system that we have is very much like for the owner class and the particular demographics that they consider to be acceptable. So, yeah, I thought that y'all were a little bit goofy with this one, but thank you to the 79% of you who seemed to understand what we were getting at. Let's not ignore that a majority of people were morally and intellectually correct on this one. Only 21% of them were annoying or wrong. But I guess that's all I have to say about this poll. If you have anything else to add, otherwise we'll move on to we'll tell you what next week's poll is, or this week's poll, I should say. And then you can vote in the poll in the chat and let us know what you think. We'll talk about it after we take a couple calls. Is it a violation of the First Amendment to compel trans teachers to misgender themselves in order to keep their jobs? So just to reiterate, if a trans person is a teacher in a public school, should they be forced to say their birth pronouns or like their birth gender when they're in front of students? Like, should they be compelled in order to keep their job to misgender themselves? So go ahead and go onto the posts page on our channel and get your votes in on the poll in the chat there. But leave your comments if you want to elaborate at all. And we will give our comments and give you some more context after we take a couple calls. So are we ready to start looking through some of these calls? Just so you know, we still have open lines and you can call in, get in the queue, get ready to chit chat. And yeah, if you're ready, then yeah, I guess we can just take them in order for now.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think that's fine.
All right, we are going to talk to Anders, he, him pronouns from Sweden, who wants to talk about the mathematics of bathroom bills. Anders, you're live on the line with Luxander and Dr. Ben. How's it going today?
Oops,
You
hold
might have
on.
to wake
Gotta
up your
mute
phone.
on my end. Sorry.
Oh,
Try that again.
you did it. Okay, Anders, can we hear you? There we go.
I'm doing fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Good, because the call screener had some problems. Yes, so I looked at it's clear that bathroom bills will affect more cis women than trans women, and it's very easy to put some numbers on that. So I ran some numbers, and this is what I found. Let's assume that 1 in 100 people who want to go to the woman's bathroom is a trans person, and that 5 of every 100 cis women are sufficiently non-gender conforming to be flagged. Under these assumptions, 5 cis women for every trans woman will be challenged on her right to be in the women's bathroom.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're correct on this, and this is actually what we are starting to see bear out in practice in the United States, where we have, increased attention on this issue and more laws passing. I can think of 2 stories just within the last few months where there was an employee of a Walmart who was a cisgender woman, but she was very tall, and a customer accused her of being trans, and basically they fired that woman. She's a cisgender woman who was fired from her job because a customer accused her of being trans for some stupid reason. They were like, well, you reported the incident to the wrong person, and that's why you got fired, actually. And there was another situation where a Black woman who is a lesbian, so she was a kind of a masculine Black woman just in her gender presentation, and she was actually changing her tampon in the women's restroom of a Walmart, and someone accosted her, and then police showed up. And so then there's a cisgender male police officer in the women's bathroom trying to basically accost or potentially arrest a cisgender woman who belongs in that space. So I do think that we should be cautious about using this this line of argumentation, because it should be enough that this is going to harm trans people. And I want to make sure that we reinforce that aspect of this when we're talking about this particular topic. But it is I don't even know if it's an unintended side effect that it's going to impact gender nonconforming women as well. I don't know, Ben, go ahead and add your 2 cents.
I think for some people it's definitely intentional. Sorry, Dr. Ben.
Yeah, no, it's an intentional thing. And it's all very, very ridiculous. Like, I think my favorite way to just change this conversation, if I'm having it with somebody, is if you were in the bathroom. For example, I've seen a lot of stuff going around, especially about JKR's more recent statement about how you should be filming people that you think are trans in the bathroom. And just how would you feel if you were in the bathroom and somebody started recording you just because they had a suspicion that you were trans? That's what people are advocating for here, is violating your privacy because of intuition. And I think if we narrow everything down to, well, intuition is not reliable. There's a very high likelihood that you could be wrong in assuming this about somebody else, and you're going to violate their privacy on that basis. I think a lot of people, once they personalize that, it's oh, that's really icky. Because I think a lot of times people don't really understand what argument they're making about the bathroom issue. You'll hear people kind of say, oh yeah, well, trans people shouldn't be in bathrooms, but they don't really articulate where they're going with that. They don't articulate what should be done about people in the wrong bathrooms. But once you kind of get there, I think that's where it becomes a lot more personalized. And but yeah, I think your math is correct as far as I'm not going to go over all the math, but it sounds like your math is accurate, and I think we're all on the same page here with this.
And that's assuming no trans women pass. If half of all trans women pass, then it's 10 cis women for every trans woman and so on. Yeah, how are we going to enforce this? How are we going to change? How is if let's say someone is challenged, what are they going to do? Are they going to drop the trousers? How are they going to prove that they are a real woman?
I mean, I think that's the big problem here is like ultimately, so I moved from the state of Kansas earlier this year, and we had a bathroom law passed there, which did not create any explicit punishment or anything like that for the behavior. So basically they passed this law that said you can't use these bathrooms, but they didn't create any kind of actual enforcement mechanism. As opposed to there are other states that have made it like, oh, this is a trespassing situation where you will be charged and prosecuted in the same way that we prosecute trespassing more generally. But in Kansas, they didn't. And the reason why is because we are expanding our police state. So basically, like, there almost doesn't need to be a specific mechanism of enforcement, because what this enables the police to do, and people in general to do, people who apparently crave the fantasy of being a cop, which it seems like you should just be able to go get the job. It's like it's a pretty low barrier of entry. If you want to be a cop so bad, just be a cop. Anyway, but it just expands the potential to detain people, harass people, spuriously arrest people, and then release them on no charges. Basically, it's just a great excuse to bother people and expand the intrusion into people's lives and make you afraid to be in public, whether you are trans or not. And it's just hard for me to see it as anything other than basically that, just like an intentional expansion of the authoritarian state.
Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. Dr. Ben, you're an orthopedist, aren't you?
No. I don't know where the rumor came from that I'm ortho. I think somebody in the side chat thought I had ortho energy, but no. I'm still in kind of in training, but my goal is kidneys. So, no ortho.
Okay. I'll let you get on with your show. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Anders. It was a great opportunity to talk about this important issue, so thank you very much, and we hope that you have a good rest of your night.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay.
That is pretty gender affirming, though. It is pretty gender affirming, though, that people think that I have ortho energy. Like, ortho is like the dude bro of medicine. So I guess I have dude bro energy. You know, I'll take it. I'll take it.
For sure. It is. Yeah, it's a little bit gender affirming. Just like, it's like the first time somebody, like a cis man, does locker room talk with you, not knowing that you're trans. You're like, oh shit, I made it. I did it.
Right.
Cool. Well, I think that one being kind of short, I want to take another call before we talk about the poll. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to get your votes in and talk about it a little bit. So let's see. Is there anything that's jumping out at you as far as calls?
I mean, all of them seem pretty reasonable to take. So whichever one you're interested in.
Okay. Oh gosh, there's so much interesting. The brain is creeping up on me right now.
Do you want me to just pick? We could just go in order too.
Let's just do them in order, I guess.
We can do that.
Okay, so we'll go with Brandy, she, her, from Massachusetts. Got kicked out of billiards for being trans. Brandy, you're live on the line. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well today. How are y'all doing?
Tired.
All right. Yeah.
Okay, so back on the 20th through the 22nd, I went to play in the Boston Open, which is a pro-am billiards tournament over here in Massachusetts. And on the second day of play, after losing my second match to one of the professionals, I was approached by the organizers and told that somebody came to them and told them that I am trans and that I need to show my birth certificate before I play my next match, is what I was told. And I was like, am I the only one that says that has to show their birth certificate? I go, because I can point out other players and say, I think they might be trans. Would they have to show their birth certificate? And we were at an impasse there in that argument with the organizers. In fact, one of the organizers has known me for multiple years, played inside of his billiards club for many years, had no idea I was trans.
Yeah.
But I was the only one isolated out and had to be forced to show my birth certificate to play the next match. And it was stunning and unfair to me. And I told the organizers, I was like, look, if you all have fallacious rules in your books, I can show you where the rule is fallacious, talking about, because the verbiage in the rules said, if you are a biological woman, I was like, that makes no sense. There's no such thing as a biological woman. Nobody is born a woman. And they said, if that is in question, you must show a birth certificate. I have my real ID. I showed them my real ID that has the F on it. I showed them my social security card that has an F on it, but it was not good enough. And so I told them, if you work with me and we could fix these rules because you have fallacious verbiage within your rule book, we can be more inclusive in the sport and go forward. And the organizers, and in fact, the CEO of the company, who's out of England, was like, yes, let's do this. We have to kick you out of this tournament, but we will go forward in the future. And so I sent him one of my videos explaining what gender is and what gender identity and gender expression mean and the concepts of how we use gender in our society. And I showed it to him. I don't even think they bothered to look at it, or if he looked at it, he never showed it to another person because they're saying that their parent company must change the rules. And I was like, well, let me talk with the parent company. And I have not heard back from these people, and this was on the 21st of June.
It sounds like you're getting the bureaucratic runaround.
With me.
Yeah.
I know. And I was like, as long as you guys are going to change your rules, be it more inclusive and do something, I'm not going to say anything about you kicking me out. But they're not doing that. I have not heard one word from these people. And
is
I feel
this,
like I'm
is this with regard to,
by them.
I get question for you, like, is this specifically in regard to like the rules of that particular tournament, or like is this the organization for billiards as a whole? Like is the governing how does the governing body feel about this?
Yeah, there's a new, because there's not any organization that oversees all of billiards, so there's a few different organizations that run their own companies. And one of them that came up this last year is called Ultimate Pool. And they're becoming very big, and they're getting across all of America, and they started in Europe. And they're becoming a big organization, and it's their entire organization. So anywhere that they take it, I cannot play in a women's tournament unless I show my birth certificate. I don't know what to do at this point. I love playing pool. I love being with all the other women in the women's division. Ryan, we gotta get out of the road. What advice can I get?
Yeah, I mean, this is like, does everybody have to show their birth certificate, or is it only when your belonging in the group comes into question? Okay,
correct.
So basically, I think that the thing to do, like, if you're going to try to continue fighting this out, is to basically continue hammering in on that point that what you are doing is opening up the doors to sweeping harassment campaigns of like any player who performs well, even players who don't perform well. Like you just said, you lost a match and then it came up, and it's like, okay, so it's not even when you succeed and excel, it's when you simply exist in the space, which is obviously stupid.
Exactly.
And like, why the hell is
so hurtful
pool
about it?
Yeah, like why the hell is pool gendered this way anyway? It just seems stupid. But you are kind of at the mercy of private institutions in this situation where there might not be another option aside from just, doing the bureaucratic runaround and getting referred to this person and that person. It reminds me of Philosophy Tube's video about her trying to figure out what was going on with her healthcare and, trying to affirm that trans people deserve this care and you should be able to get it through your regular doctor and not a specialist. And basically, just getting pointed to this person and pointed to that person. And, oh, here, let me hand you a piece of paper that says we looked into this matter. And just a whole bunch of nothing really happening. You're definitely going to be fighting an uphill battle. I think your strongest thing to be would be like, there's nothing about me that even looks trans. So any woman is subject to this kind of harassment. And basically going off of what our last caller was saying, that statistically, this is going to be the end of women's participation in sports. If there is a risk for women it's like allegedly we created this separate women's league to make sure that they can compete and they won't get harassed by the men or whatever stupid reasons that they give. You've created women's sports, but now you're going to make sure that women and girls don't participate because there's a risk of them being pointed out as like, oh, you need additional documentation or potentially having to be subject to medical scrutiny. So this is going to be the end of women's sports just because women are not going to be willing to participate anymore. So if you could hammer on that, I'm assuming that there is some amount of money involved. Like you have to pay dues to be part of the club, or there are fundraising events or something. Like there's money involved. So appeal to the fact that they're going to be losing money by losing excellent performers, basically.
I know, that's all. And one of the things that is so hurtful is I have graduated from an all-women's college. I am literally the second trans woman to ever graduate from an all-women's prestigious college. And they don't even fucking care. You're not woman enough. No matter what I do, I will never be woman enough to these people. And it is completely frustrating. For me to exist in this country, I have to...
That is also what cis women deal with all the time. If I learned anything from the Barbie movie is that there's no correct way to be a woman.
There's no correct way to be any gender. Like the rules are so strict and the gatekeeping is so bad that you're either not good enough to be your gender or you're not going to be enough to be the other gender. So it's just, I don't know what anyone's supposed to do at this point. I think most people are by default non-binary then because nobody can qualify for gender.
Right.
You must be at least this gender to get on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
But yeah, Brandy, I don't know that I have a lot of specific advice for you because it is such an uphill battle. So I guess, you're hammering in the idea that they're going to lose performers and competitors and shrink the entire league by doing this. And maybe what you have to do is get together a group of people who want to do your own pool with hookers and blackjack or whatever, you just want to split off and do your own thing separately, and tell them listen, I'm going to bring more women with me doing this.
Yeah, I mean, in my area, usually it's fine. Like in Boston, there's one of the pool halls in Boston. Every Wednesday night, they have a trans night. A bunch of trans people play pool on Wednesday nights there. And another pool hall, one of the guys that owns another pool hall in Boston was at the tournament, and he has gender neutral bathrooms throughout his place. So it's even when I turn to people or to help me, they're like, yeah, we're on your side. We support you. And I was like, what do we do? And they're like, we don't know.
I mean, get those people to show up to the next meeting with you. If you were I'm going to go meet with the person who is in charge, or at least as in charge as I can physically have a meeting with, bring everybody who supports you or everybody who thinks that this is a bullshit policy and be like, look, all of these people are willing to split off and go start our own pool league. We literally don't need you. Jeff has a pool table in his basement. We'll just start going to Jeff's house. I don't give a fuck. I don't know how else to threaten these people except to say we will simply take away your ability to make money.
I know. I can play on those amateur leagues all night, but when I get up to the professionals, when I'm playing the top level professionals, that's when my when my existence comes into question. It's never been in question until I played two of the top pros on last Friday and Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, if you pass well and people you've known for years don't even know that you're trans, then it truly, like, any woman could, like, again, as soon as they start performing in a way that makes other people pissed off, now we're having questions about gender, and now we're saying we need documents and blood tests, and it's like, it's just not reasonable or sustainable.
Femininity in this tournament, I'm way more feminine than the vast majority of those pool players. My goodness.
Yeah, that's how it usually goes, right?
Yeah, and it's like, it's just wild that a sport about skill. Like, it's not about your bone density or your muscle mass. It's like, it's a game of skill. Like,
a little bit.
I don't understand.
There is a few shots that muscle mass does really count. And it's more, in that sport, it's been culturally oppressed towards women for so many decades in this country that it's becoming a masculine dominant sport based on cultural bends.
Sure.
And that's why they've started creating just women's leagues to bring women into the sport and into the game itself, to bring them through the doors of pool halls, because the environment in pool halls since the 1920s have been something of harsh masculinity and crude gambling and violence, you know, and they're trying to erase that by opening these women's leagues, by having professional women sports in billiards, and that's what they're supposed to be promoting, is bringing people into the sport instead of isolating. And I'm frustrated.
Yeah, I feel like they are shooting themselves in the foot a little bit, and they're just going to have to find out, you know, right now they're fucking around, and later they're going to find out that, you know, women are not interested in participating if they're going to be under this level of scrutiny. Yeah, so I wish you all the luck with trying to figure that out, Brandy. It's so stupid. And my heart goes out to you because it's just like, it's ridiculous to be having to deal with it.
Thank you, Luxander. It means a lot to me. And you, Dr. Ben, thank you.
Yeah. Do you want to get in a last word, Brandy? And then we're probably going to move on to talk about our poll for list this week.
I'm just encourage people to soldier on. We will face harshness as trans people in this country, and it will take a huge tidal wave to move normality in our direction and equality in our direction. Someday we'll get there, but not today.
No. And I think being a member of your community like you're doing, where you're just like, I'm a normal person, I play the pool league, you know, that's exactly what we need, is just to be present in our communities and build grassroots support in that way. So thank you so much, Brandy, for your call. I wish you all the luck. Call back if you make any progress with this. I would be curious to know what happens. So we'll look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Yeah, I will.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's get the poll for this week up on the screen, and then I'm just going to dart away for like 10 seconds to turn on my air conditioner unit. Will you read this while I'm doing that?
Yeah, I got it. Is it a violation of the First Amendment to compel trans teachers to misgender themselves in order to keep their jobs? And yeah, while Lux is up, I'll just start getting my 2 cents of this in there. And yes, this is a violation of the First Amendment, especially, like, this isn't a question of whether or not you're teaching your students about trans identities. It's not a question about if you're giving into whatever, like, gender ideology, whatever people are going to say. This is literally just about you saying, my name is this, my pronouns are this, and not even having to, like, it's not even a question of telling your students to use whatever pronouns. Like, this is forcing somebody who, let's say, they, like, for all intents and purposes, they pass, like, so they're either super feminine, super masculine, and it's something that you would assume their pronouns match their presentation. Would that person then have to say, oh no, actually, sorry, my birth certificate says this, you have to call me she, her, he, him? Like, this is, if people are talking about disruption caused by trans people, this is more disruptive to have somebody have to correct people when something may have already been assumed. Like, it's another level of ridiculousness that it's just not, it's not necessary, and it is just blanket harmful.
Yeah, and like for context for people, this was there's a teacher in Florida, and y'all probably know about the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. You probably heard about it 2 years ago, that basically says you can't talk about these issues in schools. And so the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has upheld that this teacher, as a trans woman, I believe, who, yeah, basically like she must refer to herself with he, him pronouns in the classroom context. And like you said, it's disruptive. It's like the idea, the classic little Blair White moment where she's like, well, if I was across a restaurant and I was wearing an orange shirt, if you said, I'm here to meet a man wearing an orange shirt, they would probably be confused if you then saw me and were like, that's the person I'm going to go sit by. They'd be like, that's a woman, my dude. So like, yeah, it's a practical impossibility. And also, we were kind of interested in the First Amendment angle on this because there is this idea, the Jordan Peterson classic, like this is what shot him into like fame, was literally this idea that, oh, in Canada, they're going to start arresting people for misgendering. And it's compelled speech to force someone, quote unquote, force someone to use certain pronouns or whatever. And really what that was at the time was, it was a workplace protection. So if you're being persistently misgendered in your workplace, that's called a hostile work environment. And that phrase, by the way, is my little gift to you if you ever need to sue your employer or suggest that you might be about to sue your employer, is like, this is creating a hostile work environment. So it's protection. If your name is William and you have a coworker who insists on calling you Billy and you're like, that's infantilizing, you better stop. And they don't stop. That's harassment. So trans people are deserving of harassment protections in their workplace. But this is basically literally compelled speech, like that they are compelling this teacher to use certain language on threat of, I mean, I'm going to say this in a way that sounds a little bit exaggeratory, but like on threat of starvation and death, because in this country, if you can't get a job, you will die. Like I saw someone overdosing and like probably who died later. I like live in a place with a lot of homeless people. So if you are homeless, you are at risk for all kinds of bad things happening to you. And like, it's just such a tangible reality that most people don't think of. It's like, oh, jobs are this sort of esoteric thing, but no. So in order to keep your job, you are being compelled to say something that you don't want to say, first of all, and that is untrue and is like counter to your own understanding of yourself, and will confuse children. And honestly, it kind of forces you to talk about the trans issue when you wouldn't be talking about the trans issue as a trans teacher who is passing. So yeah, we're just introducing all kinds of problems that I think are really stupid.
Yeah. The logic is non-existent.
Right. Yeah. It's just oppression. It's just authoritarianism. There is no logical or justifiable reason for it. So obviously our poll in the chat here has resolved, saying that yes, it is a violation of the First Amendment to do this. I'll be interested to see next week what people said in the posts tab when they get their little tiki keyboards out, telling us what they think. But yeah, those are all our thoughts for this week. And with all that said, by the way, lines are still open, y'all. If you want to get in, if you want to argue with us or something, call in. Our call screener, Jess, is taking the calls today, and we still have some opportunity to take a couple more callers. But we do have a couple waiting that I guess we're just going to keep trucking along with.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a caller from Florida called Ellie who uses she, her pronouns. Question about making trans people fit systems that exist to erase us. That is a really interesting proposition. Tell me more, Ellie. How's it going? You're live on the line.
So sorry. I was getting some snacks, and carrots are dangerous to eat sometimes.
It's okay.
Hi, how are you guys?
Snacks are important. Snacks are important.
You guys have anything? What's that? Sorry? Oh, snacks.
Oh, I just said snacks are important. Yeah.
Gotcha. So my question, really, I just, I don't know. I'm trying not to I'm trying to step away from the doom scrolling and kind of like build framework for like what to look forward to. And so this question kind of is coming from that mindset. So really, I'm just asking why are we still forcing trans people to fit into systems that were built to erase us? And then I have plenty more to like kind of dig into, but that's the overarching thing if you want to follow on.
Do you have an example?
Yeah. So, like with healthcare, demanding diagnoses in order to support care, prisons deciding where you go based on, what's on your documentation. I don't know, just like, and kind of like boiling it all down, this obsession around like the term or the concept of biological sex.
Yeah, I mean, all of it stems from just humans' need to put things into nice, even little boxes. And I think like people are just so overwhelmed by the possibility of things outside of that strict binary that like the systems we created to make things easier, it would take a lot of effort to completely change our mindset around that. And two, a lot of effort to redo all of society. Because even while I strongly dislike the binary system we have, I can see problems with, the prison topic. Like there has to be some way to identify where you're going to end up, and I don't think it should be as strict as whatever you're born as. I think there should be some standardized way for people to know where you should go, and that should include being able to decide what your documents say. With that, I do think it's fair that your documents say something, because otherwise we get into this weird gray area of where do we put people. So as far as like, why do we keep putting trans people into systems that like oppress us? I don't think there's a way out of that, just because I don't think the systems are intentionally designed to oppress just trans people. They're intentionally designed to oppress everybody. Everyone that's not a cishet white Christian man is intended to be oppressed by this. But I just, unfortunately, there aren't a lot of ways to get out of the system at this point. I think it's just a matter of making these small adjustments as we're able to. But yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just don't really see another option for us. Like, I guess, so there's like tension between like trans people should be able to just exist as they want to, but also like we have to seek validation. Like we can't just exist the way that we want to, because society, at least some percentage of society is like against us doing that. Or, even the people who are okay with us doing that, they want us to do it in a particular way. So it's really difficult. It's like, we all live in capitalism. It's like we would all, like some of us would love to live in a commune, but you would still be subject to capitalistic pressures. Like somebody has to own the land and you have to have a legal document, so regardless, somebody still technically owns it, or you have to split ownership. And then there's all this like financial issues with people wanting to leave. And so you have the similar system with trans people. It's like, if we don't follow the steps that they've laid out, and I have to do a certain amount of physical transition in order to get this document updated, and I need that document updated, otherwise, like, yeah, they'll put me in a male prison, and I'm much more at risk for that. Just the possibility of ever going to prison, like for sex workers and everything, that's like a thing that you have to be more consciously aware of. And it's basically like we're trying to navigate a system in a way that just reduces the harm that we incur. Because if we don't do those things, then the outcomes are worse. So it's just like hoops that we have to jump through. And you can refuse to do that. There are plenty of people who do DIY hormones, and who are willing to take on all of the risks involved with that. And I respect it a lot. But at the same time, it would be better if we lived in a society where there wasn't those things. But we don't live in that world yet. Unfortunately, we're still working toward it.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I agree. Like everything you're saying makes total sense. And I guess like I'm asking, what I guess overall, what would it look like in your minds if we didn't have to prove we're real first? Like like, okay, for instance, what is the point of assigning sex at assigning sex at birth? Like, as an example.
Well, I mean, the point, like, this was, again, going back to humans' desire to have things, like, coincide with easy categories, and also just with the history of gender being a way to set a social hierarchy for reproductive categories.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, there is no point, like, at least nowadays, with our framing of how we think about gender and sex and all that, there really isn't a reason to assign based off of genitalia at birth. The one thing would be, medical reasons. It's helpful to know what organs people have for, like, what medical care they're going to need. But as far as that, like,
but even
there's no good reason. There's no good reason to have it, but it comes from a time when we didn't know anything different. We didn't know that there was more beyond that. We thought that we needed to have a social hierarchy based on anatomical structures. So I think there's maybe an issue with this conversation is trying to analyze antiquated models of thinking with, like, today's frame of reference, because they're not going to be compatible. Like, we're going to look at anything from the past and think, yeah, wow, that was stupid, and we should do that. But I think maybe it's less helpful to say that, there was, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the way I'm framing this. Like, I just feel like it's less helpful to think that there was no good intention for it in the past, or there was no reason to do things this way before, when really it was done that way because of lack of knowledge. So I think we look back on it, we say, this wasn't a correct way of thinking. We did the best that we could, and now we're doing better and moving on. Does that kind of make sense? Did I make any sense in that?
Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And, like, I just wanted to touch on something you mentioned, which was, like, about assigning sex at birth, and, like, the functional purpose of that, or benefit that you mentioned, was, like, being able to treat kiddos or people, right, based on the genitalia they have. But even in that even in that idea, like, it still has issues, because
right, and it's going to.
I'm not
and
a doctor,
here's where we need to be.
Well,
but here's where we need to be careful about not being overly pedantic about it, because yes, there are going to be people who exist outside of all of these like coherent anatomical traits, right? Like, there's a wide range of people on that spectrum. However, when we're talking medically and when we're talking scientifically, you can't formulate guidelines for every single individual. There comes a place where you have to generalize at least a little bit, and then the individuals, you adjust your plan for the individual, knowing that they differ from, the guidelines that are set and meant to be general. So it is helpful to have a word to summarize the combination of traits that you would expect. Like, it's okay to use the terms male and female, like, in a study, if you're making the assumption that, hey, we're limiting this word to mean this thing in this context, it may mean something different in another context, and that's the beauty of language. And so, yes, I agree with you that there are going to, like, it's never going to be 100% like sufficient to describe the people like within that category. However, there comes a point where you have to give a little bit and say, this term is good enough for what I need it to do right now.
I also think that there's kind of two different questions
about,
about, like, yeah, sorry. It's like, you're answering from the very medical perspective, and I agree with you, and I appreciate that, like, on your medical file, for it to say external genitalia, this, pending ultrasound, unclear what the internal organs are, because we don't do that to babies, whatever. Legal documents, though, like, there is a bigger question of, like, why is that a legal document? And I think that ties into your point about, like, Victorian era, maybe that's not what you were alluding to exactly, but, like, the Victorian era, like, social hierarchy, And so, yes, the legal documentation, the reason why we have it on that is to reify a social stratus, like to say, yes, there's a hierarchy and to create discrete legal groups. And like, I guess for the purposes of talking about discrimination law, you can't have a protected group unless you have some way to recognize that group, I guess. But it's not like they put, I don't know, like, I guess I would need to look at my birth certificate and look at all the things that are on there. Like how detailed do we record other information like race and like other factors that we do create discrete legal categories around. But like how necessary is that? And like, it obviously would be better if we lived in a society where we didn't need to have explicit protections for females who are being oppressed by abortion restrictions or whatever. It's hard to say like what this future could look like because everything is going to carry forward something of the systems that it used to do. Like, the spacing of lanes on the road is still to this day determined by the width of carts in ancient Rome. So like everything that we have in our society is going to carry things. Yeah, it's legit. It's very fascinating. So like, the way that we build roads today is still based on things from like thousands of years ago. And so the way that we talk about gender now is based on how we've talked about it the entire time we've had a concept of what gender is. So yeah, I do find I share your frustration, I guess, that this is annoying. Like to have to jump through all these hoops is obnoxious, and we shouldn't have to do it. And I love, going through the process of imagining how we could do things differently. It's just kind of hard for me to imagine like, oh, suddenly trans people just don't have to deal with this. Like, wouldn't that be a miracle? Like all the cis people stop aggressively bothering us all the time. But that's the thing, is that it's dependent on cis people on their own deciding that these categorizations are harmful and that we should be doing something else. So that's kind of the unfortunate part, is that we don't get to decide.
Well, and I guess that's what I'm kind of wanting to like advocate for, like create a framework in my mind or a discussion around this topic of like, okay, in a world where we critically evaluate, which I'm sure this isn't like a new topic or a new thought, but like I just wanted to have a conversation about like critically questioning the why behind the boundaries that we're creating in society. And we're specifically talking about gender and sex right now, but like, all of these boundaries that, as you've already mentioned, serve to oppress and, enrich others, like just questioning, like, why the hell do we have gender on passports or driver's license? Like, why does that even matter? And just silly things. Like, I know that there's antiquated origins, but like, can we just, I understand the world that we're living in, and I'm trying to pretend that we're not right now in this very moment.
The denial. I relate.
Yep.
So anyway, I don't know.
Like why you watch Star Trek. Watch Star Trek. It'll make you feel better.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of things that
literally
should not be happening, but like we don't have a way to change it unless we get lawmakers that can go do their jobs and change those things. But that's increasingly difficult right now. So yeah, it's a thing where I see all of your points. Like I wish that these things were different, but there's not much we can do about it.
Yeah, and can I ask you a more medical related question outside of this topic?
Yeah, it depends on what it is.
Yeah, last question though.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Hold on, it's slipping from my mind. So, okay. So the medical model, at least that's practiced in the states that I understand, at least, is like it's a medical authority driven system. Maybe that's not the right verbiage, but like the doctor is the authority, and I'm wondering, like, is it likely that or what are your thoughts? Let me say it that way. What are your thoughts around kind of transitioning to more of an informed consent model, where it's more of a collaborative effort? And obviously, like, it's going to be contextual with many things, but
yeah, no, and I don't know what specific like if you're talking about your state specifically or your doctor specifically, but like how that interaction happens is provider by like it's at the provider level to make that decision of how collaborative they're going to be with the patient. So like I would hesitate to say like, hey, like this isn't the overarching model that is enforced. Like that's a more local level decision, because I'm all in favor of informed consent models, but again, it depends on the particular age of the person. It depends on the particular issue you're talking about. There's a lot of variables here. But yeah, like collaboration should always be like the main method for decision making, but that's on an individual basis, and there's nothing in med school that says you have to be the ultimate authority and like tell your patient what to do, and so, like that's not how we're taught. And I think if your provider thinks like that, find a different one or go to a different state.
If only it was that simple, right? Thank you for your time, guys. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Yeah. Thanks, Ellie. We appreciate your call. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye.
Okay, I'm going to just pause for a second because I want to tell you about all the other great shows we have on the line. Okay, so first of all, before I do that, hit the like button, babes. If you haven't already hit the like button, it's an immediate benefit to the stream. It tells YouTube to show it to more people, just like boom. And it's quick, it's easy, it's free. It's a great way to support the show. If you do want to support the show financially, you can join on our memberships or Patreon, or you can give a $5 or more super chat, and we will read those out at the end of the stream. But while I have you all here, I am going to tell you about the schedule for July, for this next week at least. So on the Sunday, we've got Matt Dillahunty with Austin Archer on the Sunday show. And then after dark, we have Forrest and Durante. On Skeptalk on Monday, we're going to have Erica and Aaron. On Chewed Gum, we've got Alyssa and our new person, Taylor, who you all may have seen this week on Tuesday. And then for the Hang Up next week, it's Matt with Brady Goodwin. And for TACIS next week, you will have Arden and myself. So make sure you have your bell icon clicked if you want notifications for all of that jazz. And join us for all of our wonderful shows in the upcoming week. Love you, babes. Okay, don't forget the like button. Yeah. And with that, I guess.
Chats in.
Yeah, get the super chats in. Oh, yeah. So the fun punishment. Yeah, we do the punishment at the end where somebody has to defend a goofy position. We will get that out later. We'll have a poll for you to vote on what the silly position is. But whoever you want to do the silly rant, that person has to lose. They have to be crushed by all the intense votes. And you can vote for your favorite animal. If you vote hashtag team dog, it will go to Dr. Ben, or hashtag team puppy or whatever, or hashtag team cat, and variations thereupon will be a vote for me, and also will cause me to go find my cat and torture him by showing him to the camera. Yes, he hates it so much. He's like, please put me down, you bitch. I hate you so much. And then I put him down and he's like, hi, I want your attention. I'm standing, so he's like looking at me from the floor. Anyway, animals are such fun little goobers. How is Puppy doing, by the way?
Oh, Puppy's getting big. Puppy's getting very big.
They grow pretty rapidly.
It's great. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, with that little break out of the way, let's continue just going down the line. We've got a person whose name I'm going to probably pronounce poorly. I'm going to say Noai. Any all pronouns from Spain. Pop trans discourse is shooting itself in the foot. Please tell me how to pronounce your name, and also let us know what it is you want to talk about. Hello. Welcome to the show. You're live.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Me? Okay. Don't worry about my name. It's just an online alias. Like, I've been watching the show, and I guess I want to say I have some criticism of the way some of the colors are handled, especially like transphobic colors, I guess. Because, like, in my opinion, there's a lot of, let's call them confused transphobes who could be swayed either way and end up being swayed to the right because of some of the attitudes displayed by some people on the left.
Do you have examples?
I don't know.
Do you have a specific one that you're thinking of recently?
The last one I remember, I think it was with Forrest. Someone called with the, he had the Also, I'm sorry about if I'm stumbling, or I'm not a native English speaker, is what I'm trying to say.
I figured that. You're doing just fine.
Yeah, okay,
you know way more
thank you.
English than I know Spanish, so you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, so it was with Forrest and I don't remember who else, but it was a caller that had he called in with attack helicopter pronouns, which is like a goofy thingy. And he wanted to talk about religion, but he was like picked on and basically bullied out of the show for having done that, which I understand, but I think it's counterproductive.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Well, so here's the thing, though. Like, when people use the attack helicopter argument, that is intentionally inflammatory. Like, that's not somebody that's trying to have an honest conversation. That's not somebody really to humor in those ways. So, like, I understand that. Yeah, I'd like to use a kinder approach with a lot of people, but when they do that, they are intentionally antagonizing. And so that's probably why they were called out for it, because it's from the right off the bat that they're not trying to be honest.
I guess the reason I had an issue with it is I think he called in with those pronouns, but later changed it to nothing or something. I'm not sure. So, like, even though he went on the show without that as his pronouns, he got called out for having considered doing that.
I think it's appropriate. It's appropriate to call people out for stuff like that. And I don't think that that's bullying. Like, that's calling somebody out for a choice that they made, that they could have chosen not to do that. They could have chosen to be more respectful, and they didn't choose to do that. So I think, like, I get that we want to be nice, but there are also times when we need to not let them run us over and not think that it's okay to treat people like that. So, and I don't know enough of the context for that particular episode to say whether or not the entire conversation was appropriate. But I think Lux had some points to make on this.
I mean, are you familiar with the concept of bad faith?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
obviously there's going to be people who just
but that's like, I don't really feel like it's a fair expectation that if somebody enters a conversation and they virtue signal bad faith, which is what you do if you say attack helicopter, or if you refuse to give pronouns, or if you say, like, I don't know, like, people do silly stuff on all the other shows. I know that Forrest really likes to hound people who avoid the pronoun question, but it's like, we can tell based on that behavior that this person is not going to have an honest conversation with us, no matter what the subject matter is. Like, if you can't just tell me, like, okay, you like, you're a man and you live in the world as a man. I'm not saying you specifically, but just like assuming a general caller who is doing this attack helicopter thing, it's usually a fucking guy. And like, so if you know that you live your life as a man and you use he, him pronouns, and you come in here and you will give your name, but you won't give your pronouns, like, we know that you're not operating in good faith. And I also really think that it's kind of silly to say that, like, oh, this minority was mean. And in this case, not even a minority. It was just Forrest, who loves being an asshole to people about this. And I respect that so much. I would love to do a show with Forrest, because I just get so much energy from how that he will not let it go. You're telling me this person called in to talk about religion, and Forrest was like, actually, we're going to talk about your attack helicopter pronouns, bitch. Like, I love that about Forrest, actually. So I just think it's kind of unfair to say that, like, someone being unsupportive of trans rights is like the responsibility of trans people. It's like, if they really supported trans rights, they wouldn't stop supporting trans rights because someone was a little bit mean to them. You know, I've heard this with so many different groups over so much time, because I've been involved in activism forever. I've seen people who are like, I don't identify as a feminist anymore because this one feminist was mean to me. And it's like, well, you don't have any moral backbone then. Like, you don't have any real beliefs. If you're going to say, like, I agree with everything this group says, but I'm not going to use the label feminist because I think some feminists are mean. It's like, no, feminism is an intellectual theory with, like, a bunch of stuff that goes into it, like all this different, like, you know, thought processes and zooming in and out on all these different sociological issues. And you either support equal rights by gender or you don't. And I just think it's silly in this case as well to be like, oh, I've just decided that I'm no longer a trans ally because someone was kind of mean to me. It's victim blaming, isn't it? Like, don't you think?
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't call it victim blaming because I usually see this done not by trans people. It's usually allies who, to me, it really feels like they're just going for a moral grandstanding thing. But I don't know.
that's allyship. It's people who are not trans sticking up for trans people and saying, I will not tolerate this, because it's often easy for people to shit on trans people, like to their face. Even like it's easy for people to call into this show and tell us that I'm not a real man, but it's great when somebody who isn't trans stands up and says, hey, you don't get to pick on these people either. And like somebody who is a cishet white man who has that privilege and that social currency to not lose very much from saying that. It's nice. It's great. I love when that happens. That is allyship. And I think that it's no less allyship just because it comes from somebody who isn't like more adjacent to the community. So I think if it's a behavior that would be okay for a trans person to stick up for themselves in that moment, I think it's equally okay for Forrest to stick up for trans people in that same manner.
Yeah, I mean, at no point am I passing judgment, or I don't want to say it's okay or it's wrong. I guess I'm just worried about the political climate, and I feel like a lot of people who, like I said before, a lot of people who would otherwise be kind of undecided end up being pushed to the wrong side, in my opinion, because of things like this. I don't know if you disagree,
Sure.
but
I think this is also it's a multifaceted conversation. I was actually just talking about this with Matt last night on the hang up. And it's something I think about constantly, is that people, when you're trying to persuade someone, or just living in society in general, trying to be on the same page with other people, folks need different things at different points in their process. So like people call Matt Dillahunty, and they have been calling Matt Dillahunty for 20 years. They call him to get yelled at. Like they are calling him because they need that part of their deconstruction or whatever that they're doing. So like folks need different things at different parts of the process. Sometimes people need to call here and have Josie be like, well, this is my humanity and you're really denying me my humanity. Like, do you think that that's fair? And to be really personal and emotional about it. And then sometimes you need, people like Arden and myself who are very like, you should just be convinced by the facts. Maybe Ben too. Arden and I have just talked about this recently a lot, where it's like people are not convinced by the facts and they should be. And then you have people like Matt who are going to call you a fucking idiot, and Forrest who's going to get on your ass about not using pronouns or whatever. So I think it's good to be open-minded to the idea that all of these different tactics serve a purpose. And that one person is also not the entire point. Like you talking to us here now, this conversation and trying to persuade you isn't even the point of what we do. The point of what we do is all the people who are listening who might also be thinking, ooh, should trans people or their allies change their tactics? And so it's for all of the people who are undecided as well. So if we yell at the guy, if Forrest yells at the guy for using attack helicopter pronouns, it's going to convince someone in the audience in some manner, is kind of what we're banking on. That's the point of debate, or at least that's our hope with debate. So I would be interested if there were some kind of data on like, oh, this actually does drive people away. Sure. But my years and years and years of watching people deconstruct from all kinds of different belief structures tells me that there is a place for that in the whole broad spectrum of tools that we have in our toolbox to try to be rhetorically effective.
And sometimes too, persuading people isn't even the priority, because if I have to choose between like my own humanity and coddling somebody into changing their beliefs, like if somebody is being directly harmful, we need to end that harmful behavior. Like sometimes you just need to stop that behavior before you can worry about, is this person on my side? Do I need to play to them? Like I don't always need to get them on my side. Like I like more people to do that, but like if me being nice to them while they say that I'm not a real man is maybe gonna get them on my side. Like I still don't think I want to like humor them in that. I don't want to grant them that. So
Yeah. Yeah, I totally understand.
I can understand sometimes that people get upset with some of our hosts for getting too spicy too fast. I've seen that criticism before, and I understand it. Sometimes we are a little bit trigger happy, and I'll totally say that. Sometimes we jump on people, and we're like, maybe we didn't need to do that, and we reflect on it later, and we go, maybe I was a little too spicy that time. So it is something that we are internally kind of always working on as well. So I just want you to know that we're not doing any of this thoughtlessly. And if we're doing something that's less effective, we do want to update on that. I just don't really know how we would know for sure, like what is most convincing. So we're just kind of throwing a lot of stuff at the wall to see if we can convince anyone. And it feels like an uphill battle and a struggle all the time. So of course we get frustrated as well, which means that sometimes we're less effective because we're just mad. And I'm not going to say that that's like a good thing. I'm just saying it's a fact. So, but if you want to get a last word in, I'll give you the chance, and then we'll probably go ahead and keep this moving along.
No, I think I've said all I wanted to mention.
Cool. I would be interested if you are able to get through to Forrest and ask him about his opinions about this. I don't know if they take those kind of calls on those shows, but I would be fascinated to hear what he says.
I wanted to I wanted to call in when he was on, but I wasn't sure when he was going to
You might
with
try
a trans topic. So
the After Dark show on Sunday might be the good opportunity to do that this upcoming week. Well, I guess for you it'll be like 3 a.m, so maybe that's not the best time, but he will be on this week. Yeah. But yeah, feel free to call him sometime and let us know how that goes. But thank you. We appreciate your call. It was an interesting discussion. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Bye. Okay. Good gracious. Do you have any like closing thoughts on the whole like tone policing topic? Like, I don't really know how I feel about it these days.
Yeah, no, it's just thing like people can have their own preferences of how you want to handle a discussion, but when we've had so many of these, like, I'm not here to pander to somebody else. Like, if they're harassing us, like, I do not owe it to them to coddle them. And I feel like a lot of us feel the same way.
Yeah. Like, I'm going to hold your hand and make sure that I'm not too aggressive or whatever. And it's like a straight up fallacy, I think, to be like, I'm not going to listen to you. Oh, hold on. Sorry. My audio got a little weird, but I think it's like a literal fallacy. I don't know which one it is, but to be like, you're wrong because your tone is off, or like you're wrong because you're being too aggressive. Yeah. I don't know. It's just goofy. But anyway,
we've got a caller that could like potentially be a little bit spicy.
Yeah. Which one are you thinking?
17-1.
Sure. Okay, fascinating. All right, let's go ahead and first of all, hit the like button, please, babes. Oh my God, it's immediately helpful to the show. And your $5 or more super chats will be read out loud at the end. Vote #Team Ben or #Team Lux for your favorite. Anywho, yeah, so let's take Jack, him from Iowa, who wants to talk about basically being a heterosexual man in a relationship with a trans woman. What's up, Jack? You're live on the line. How's it going?
Hi, how you doing?
So tired.
Yeah.
First time listener, first time caller.
Fun.
Now this is just opinion. I am not trying to, start a civil war here between the queer community. I'm just, giving you my perspective on things. I am with a trans girl, and she and I have both agreed. I love Megan to death. We've been together for like 2 years. My thing is, the relationship is straight. Sex is gay. So she likes to say she's straight. I like to say I'm gay. Now,
is that the source of any tension in your relationship, out of curiosity?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good. That's important.
However,
for
Yeah.
sure.
now the outside, the cis community, they don't care. Now within the LGBTQ plus community, that's where we have a problem.
Sure.
That's where we have a big problem.
I
They
mean,
get
yeah, like
really mad at me.
I guess it's like, how much are you discussing your sex life with other people? I am a trans person who's with a cis person, and I don't really talk about our sex life that much. Like, even with other queer
It's,
people, I'm like, I don't really need to.
I mean, she only says it with her girlfriends, and you know, I don't mean to sound like a sexist, but you know how girls gossip.
Sure,
And
yes, they do talk about their sex lives. Yeah, that's true. They do that.
it gets out there, and then now I've got people coming to me going, "Are you really saying you're gay?" And it's like, dude, come on, man. You know, she's a girl. Our relationship is a girl. I'm with a girl. And then they're like, well, then why don't you just say you're having straight sex? And it's like, there's that, I guess, like punk rock, anti-authoritarian, like part of me that goes, nah, dude, I'm gay. You know what I mean? It's, I don't know, like it's my own personal, what's the word I'm trying to say here? It's my own personal fetish that, you know, helps me do that thing. And it was supposed to be between me and her, but you know, her and I are open. You know, I asked her about it. She likes it. Now my thing is, if she likes it, who gives a crap what anyone else thinks, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're having fun with it, like, sure. Like, my partner, like, you would not think anything queer about him looking at him. He is, like, except for being somewhere on the asexual spectrum, is just like a straight man. And he literally stole my rainbow scarf and wears it every winter. And I'm like, it's not yours. And he's like, yeah, but it is now, though, because I've been wearing it. And he likes that. He's not doing it in his current role, but at his last job, where he was like the literal, like, most qualified person in his position at his company, he would often use his, proximity to me as a way of being actively subversive in an environment that is extremely male dominated and like cishet dominated as well. So it's like, I can understand using your proximity to a queer person and being like, I'm kind of part of the club. On the other hand, like, so if
And
you're
I
having fun
mean,
with it, like, it's whatever. But I also think it's worth thinking about, like, if you were in a relationship with a cisgender woman, and like, I'm just gonna throw some things out there. I don't really care about what you actually personally do,
sure,
but like,
sure.
if a straight man is in a relationship with a cis woman and she pegs him, or if he does anal with her, like, is that gay? Like, some guys will say insane shit, like, yeah, like, having your
Okay,
nipples played with
now
as a man is gay, even if a woman is
I
doing it. Like, people do all kinds of silly stuff. So
if a cis woman was pegging me, I would automatically be like, you know, oh yeah, that's so gay, you know, like it, because it, you know, it helps our sexual experience. You know what I mean?
sure, yeah. I mean, like, as a
I guess
personal
what
thing, I don't really have a problem
I
with it
guess
as a
I guess
personal thing.
I guess what I'm asking is, if she's okay with it and I'm okay with it, it's okay, right?
It's just the issue is like taking this outside that context, framing a trans woman as, you know, being gay with a gay man. Like, that is kind of inherently misgendering, whether or not it's intentional. Like, it can very
But
easily be seen as
she
disrespectful. So
she was
even
the
if
one
she like,
who,
even if she likes it in, yeah, and whether or not she needs to be talked about this with other people, that's another story. But it's there is some nuance here that is a little bit tricky, and there are issues with, like, You know what chasers are? You know what it means to be a chaser?
I'm sorry. I don't mean any disrespect. Please don't get this the wrong way. But the only slang word I know is tranny hawk. Is that what you're trying to say?
Like
A chaser is a straight man who fetishizes a trans woman in this particular way where it's like, ooh, it's taboo, it's gay. I'm like getting away with something by having sex with a trans woman, as opposed to just admitting that I want to do gay stuff, you know? So like it's a problematic thing that is like it's objectifying in a way that is often uncomfortable for the object of that attention, the subject of that attention.
But what if the object is the one who was like?
So, but what I want to continue to lead into here is that it's okay to have problematic fantasies, and oftentimes we want to keep those problematic aspects of our fantasies private. Like if I was into something like consensual non-consent, like I probably would keep that relatively on the lowdown because it can be problematic. There are people who are into race play. There are people who are into all kinds of things that are like, and like this is why things are titillating, is because they're taboo, right? Like why are there so fucking many stepsister videos on the porn websites? Well, it's because it's taboo. It's something you're not supposed to be doing. It's titillating for that reason. So I'm not going to pass. I'm just not going to pass moral. Yeah, we totally are. So keep it chill as far as the explicitness.
Is that like, I like to lick butt?
I don't know. People are into all kinds of like moderately problematic things. And I think that that's fine. I just don't think that it needs to be present in our rhetoric, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's the issue is
rhetoric. I'm saying in bed.
Yeah, no, but the problem is like the way that you're describing things could be seen by other people as problematic because of what we just said. So, like, if it's something that is consensual between the two of you, I mean, that's one thing. Yeah. But then, if other people hear this, it is reasonable for them to be like, "Is this a problematic relationship? Like, is this
only she says it to her trans friends?"
Yeah, I mean, then what she has done is she has disclosed a somewhat problematic fetish, and her friends had a reaction to it. And I don't think that it is like a moral judgment on anybody involved. Like if I knew a black woman who was in a relationship with a white man and they were doing race play that involved her pretending to be a slave and him pretending to be the guy holding the whip, I would be like, wow, yikes. Good for you, but fucking yikes. Like, you know what I mean?
Okay. So see, that's what's happening though. That's what's happening though. Her trans friends, their boyfriends, they're like, the trans girls are getting their boyfriends into that because of what my girlfriend's saying.
I mean, I guess good for everybody involved. I'm so happy for you. So I don't really feel like I have a lot else that I could add.
I mean, I shouldn't even be calling. That's why I used a fake name. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't really feel like there's a lot else that I could add on this. I am so happy that you're having a good time, and I think that's all I can really say.
But I'm not like a bad, person for, because, I've heard all these things about dead naming and, this and that and woo, woo, woo. But like, she's the one who came up with this. And it's like, oh my God, it's, it took our relationship to the next level. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Once you get past 30, I mean, you gotta bring new stuff into it,
I completely understand. I've been married for 13 years. But yeah, I'm so happy for you.
You gotta bring.
I'm very excited that you're having such a good time. Yeah. I don't think I have anything else to add on this. Thank you so much for calling in. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our next caller.
We got a lot of calls still. No, we have a lot of calls left. Yeah.
Everybody in the chat's like, I think this is either fake or this is just a chaser who is seeking moral absolution. That was a weird call, but I'm like, I'm not doing it again. I'm like, I was waiting for him to say something very explicit, and I'm like, we got to get out of here before he does that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right.
Okay. Anyway,
all right, which one do you want next?
Thank you for choosing that one, Ben. That was your fault.
Sorry, I was thinking we were going to get into a misgendering debate. So
yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It was a little weird. It's okay. Okay, let's just continue in order. Arden, do you have any time constraints today? I know it's getting to the point where I might want to start shifting towards super chats after we take another couple of calls.
Yeah, I probably should have closed the lines a little bit earlier. If there's anyone you guys want to drop, let me know. But the lines are closed currently. Also, I only have 2 punishment options, and I can't think of a third. Your options are currently Dragons Suck and BG3 is the worst game. So, if you guys have any thoughts on
put your ideas in the chat.
Yeah, give me some ideas in the chat.
Yeah, what we're going to do is those $5 or more super chats, you use that to vote with hashtag, important, hashtag Team Lux or Team Ben, and whoever loses that vote has to defend a silly position, right? So we have 2 proposed silly positions. We're going to have you guys propose a third one, and we'll put up a poll for you in a little bit so that you guys can decide what the punishment is. So right now, Baldur's Gate 3 is the worst game, or Dragons Suck, and give us a third one, and we'll potentially get one of those in. So yeah, with all that said, don't forget to hit the like button as well as those super chats. Let's just keep it moving. With Leonardo, him from Mexico, wants to know if gender dysphoria is a mental problem or not. You are live on the line. How's it going?
Hi.
Hello.
Can you
Why
hear
don't
me?
you tell us what you want to... Yeah, we can hear you. Tell us what you want to talk about today.
I know it's probably a dumb question, but gender dysphoria, I don't know if it's how do I say it? Social problem, like society puts these problems onto the people and they need to get free in some way, or it's a mental thing like body dysphoria.
I mean, both a little bit, right? Like, I mean, from of course, Dr. Ben can talk more about the medical perspective specifically, but it feels like there's sort of 2 facets to it, and we will sometimes distinguish in our language. Like, I might say social dysphoria versus like body dysphoria. So, like, I had a lot of dysphoria around certain parts of my body because people were, I felt, gendering me based on that, or having certain thoughts and expectations around my body and me as a person because of that. But then we had quarantine, and I realized, like, oh, I don't have a problem with this for me, myself internally. It's only a problem with my interactions with other people. So I was able to seek some clarity there, and it can be kind of hard to disentangle it unless you literally disengage from society and you no longer have the social pressure involved. But yeah, so I guess it kind of is 2 different but connected problems.
Yeah. It's... Oh, you go ahead, Leonardo.
I just want to say that my English is trash, so sorry if I say something that is wrong.
No problem.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, and I was just gonna jump in and say, like, it's kind of complicated how we like classify dysphoria, because it's not a mental illness by any means, because the distress related to gender dysphoria is external distress. It is not internal distress. So, like, the distress, kind of like Lux is getting to, if people are treating you differently because of, your gender identity, or because of certain features, or if society is oppressing you because of certain things and that's causing you distress, that is not within you problem. And same thing, like having anatomical features that no longer cause you distress after you have surgery or take hormones, that's an external factor and not an internal factor, where a mental illness will be something that even if you adjust those external factors, the internal distress is still going to remain. So, like, body dysmorphia is internal distress, where even if you like get that nose job or whatever, you're still going to have that kind of distress. So on that hand, like, gender dysphoria is not in itself like a mental illness. However, like, the fact that it like it does cause distress, of course, with the dysphoria. So depending on how you're meaning to say, like, is it a mental problem by a diagnosis? Not really. But is it a problem for quality of life? Yes. Is it a problem like that, that the distress does need some kind of management? Yes. Does that clear it up at all?
I think yes. It's a little complicated because in my head, I'm thinking if the things that other people say or the society says about me affect me, it's a me problem or the society problem or both.
Usually, I mean, in that case, it's a society problem because if trans people would not be so distressed without that input from society, that's not them. Like the trans person can't really do much on their, like whether or not a trans person changes certain things may or may not influence how much society is causing that distress. Like a trans person before or after transition may still get the same reaction from society because regardless, they're still not meeting those societal norms. However, before and after transition, that person, that individual may have reduced distress just because they weren't the problem to begin with, but their own internal sense of self more aligns with their external presentation. So you can mitigate some of that distress, but ultimately the majority of it does come from the society.
I get it. That makes a lot of sense. It's a mix of both because it's inside of the person, and also the factors that are affecting the person are society and the pressures of the people. Okay, that makes sense.
And I do want to jump onto that point as well, that like even the body dysphoria like is socially pressured to some degree. Like if we didn't have this idea of like the penis is a representation of all that is masculine and like phallic imagery all over, and like you're proximal to the United States, you're probably familiar with like the Washington Monument, and it's just a giant dick in the middle of the city or whatever. Yeah, the big obelisk, right? Like, yeah, all of these are phallic images. And so even if a trans woman is on a deserted island, she might still have like stress around her body that is primarily caused by this societal structure that we have. Even if nobody ever looks at her or interacts with her, she might still feel bad. So it's really hard to sort of separate those issues. Like it's hard to pull them completely apart because we all grow up in this society, and like we all go through all these different pressures. So I don't want to disregard social dysphoria or body dysphoria because they each have like their own root causes and they feed back and forth into each other. But we do know, like Ben was saying, like the statistics around suicidality in trans youth, in like trans teenagers, it goes down by like 30 to 40% if you just have one affirming adult in your life. So we know that the social support is a huge factor. And this is kind of the difficulty with this discussion, is that people have taken those statistics about trans suicidality or depression, and they've gone, well, you see, being trans causes that. And it's like, no, it's the way that people are treating these people is what's causing that. And if we remove those negative social situations, then people do calibrate to a basically the same as everybody else level. It might still be like, okay, you have bad days, or like you might share statistics with like other groups of people who are also experiencing higher rates of housing insecurity and underemployment. So those things impact people's mental health, but it's not like the fact that you're trans. We've pretty much figured out that, if you give people the medicine that they need and they can transition and they can be like socially accepted and they feel better in their body, then everything kind of becomes the same as everybody else. And so that's all that trans people really want, is the opportunity to be as miserable as everybody else and not more miserable than everybody else.
Okay.
But yeah, does that kind of help answer your question?
Yeah, it really helped. I had another question.
Sure, if you can get a quick one in.
that how you create a community in a danger zone.
Can you walk that
And
back a little bit slower?
Oh.
I was having a hard time hearing you.
okay, sorry.
Community danger zone. Like, how do you?
Oh, yeah.
I'm guessing. Like, how do we create community in places where the societal system is less affirming and less accepting? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, here in Mexico,
Hmm.
the language is very how would I say it? It's oppressive, is homophobic, and also machist.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's made to apart some people. Also, we
Mhm.
don't have a like middle pronoun like he, she, it. We don't have I, it. It's all he and she. So that's a big problem that makes more difficult to build a community here.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really difficult I think that we're all kind of navigating that to various degrees. You know, like if you live in Texas, it's maybe not it's not as bad in the same ways as being in Mexico. But like my understanding, growing up in a place where there were a lot of Mexican families, is you have a lot of issues with like the Catholicism. There's like a lot of the religious influence, and it's so unfortunate that like Mexican people are indigenous colonized people who have inherited a lot of the colonization culture. So like, yeah, you've had Catholicism imposed on you. You've had the gender binary imposed on you when indigenous communities honored that aspect of their communities. So, I mean, it's like how many hundreds of years of disentanglement you would have to go through. But I am seeing it happen more now where people who are who like are from Mexico or Americans who are of Mexican descent, kind of resuming their indigenous identity, and doing the things like growing out their hair really long and trying to get back to that culture. And I have a huge amount of respect for that, and I think that I would love to see that movement kind of grow. There obviously is like a Mexican identity, and I don't want to disregard that as its own unique and important thing that exists. But I just do think that kind of taking that identity and maybe trying to disentangle it somewhat, and trying to find other people who are interested in disentangling that might be a good start. I don't really know how to help with the whole like the language sucks though. I know that people will say Latine instead of Latino or Latina, and like so there is some effort to make the language more duet.
Putting the E at the end of the pronoun.
To like kind of create a gender neutral option. I would say if you're trying to find people to have community with, local community groups will sometimes have like they'll meet at a public place, or if you take a couple classes at a college, there are college groups often. But the community is definitely there, like for sure. There has to be a queer community for you to seek out. It just is tough to navigate that when you're dealing with like a lot of pressure, and sometimes even more pressure in like the families that I've known that are like very heavily Mexican culture. There is this really strict gender binary, and Josie can talk about this more because she had that experience of being like told to grow up a certain way. She turned out to be a different way. So, I completely understand that it's very challenging to be alienated from your culture in that way.
Yeah. In my part, I love my family, but it's true that the community sometimes can be a little oppressive. No, not in a I'm gonna hit you, but in if you do this, you're gay. If you do that, you're not within the values of that we respect. And I think that's more horrible than getting fucking punched, because it's like you can do anything. You cannot punch your enemy because it's invisible. It's everyone. So yeah, I think I'm gonna go to a college someday.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity to meet new people, and they often have those student groups So even if there is like a culture that is generally not happy with queer people, there are still going to be queer people, in big cities and at liberal colleges and things like this. So if you're trying to just meet people, I would say, that's something to look into. And then also you could just, everybody has Google, so you can be like, queer community events near my city. Yeah, exactly. Or Facebook or Reddit or online groups. Yeah.
I know Mexico City had an incredible Pride celebration this year. So I know there are like LGBTQ organizations in Mexico. I don't know how close in proximity to you and all that, but that might be worth looking into is finding like, is there a group nearby? Are there other people? Even if it's, just a small group of people that can go hang out in town together or whatever, you might be able to find some people. Just might have to go out there and they might even just need to be more online groups too, depending on how rural you are and that kind of stuff.
I think that is that thing. I think that's it. I don't have anything more to question.
Sure. Yeah, we appreciate your call, Leonardo. I hope that you get to find some community in your local area. It makes such a huge difference, whether you're trans or not, to have people around you who think the same way that you do, and who are going to be a reprieve from some of those pressures that you have to deal with from, the invisible enemy everywhere who's constantly putting pressure on you. So yeah, my heart goes out to you. Let us know if you are successful, and then we can maybe point some people toward the resources that are present in your area. So feel free to call us back sometime.
Okay, thanks.
Bye. Okay. I am so jealous of people who can speak Spanish. I like wish that I could speak Spanish so bad, but I hate Duolingo. I hate the streaks that it keeps putting me on. And I was thinking about taking a class, but in classes you learn like Spain Spanish, which is not the same as what people in America speak. Not the same thing.
Nope.
This is completely unrelated, and I'm just going to take a moment to talk about something that doesn't matter at all before we take our next couple of callers. I have been playing World of Warcraft Classic recently, and for some reason, there are so many like Central and South American Spanish speakers on my server. So like sometimes they'll have like entire conversations with each other in the guild chat, and I'm like, every other word, I'm like, okay, I kind of know what you guys are talking about, or I can figure it out from context. Maybe I just need to pick a couple people on my server and be like, can you just talk to me in Spanish sometimes so that we can do mutual exchange? I'll help you with your English. You help me with my Spanish. Let's figure it out.
Yeah. No, I love that stuff. I get way too obsessed with learning languages and I end up like trying to study for it at the same time, and then it doesn't really work well because you have to like there's so little resources out there that are actually like good. I have wandered my way into Chinese Twitch, and like it is such a headache because I know so little, but I try very hard, but I can't read anything
that's gotta
they're saying.
One of the most difficult ones. Yeah, like they don't use the same alphabet as we do. It's I was about to say something about the tonalness of the language making it difficult, but so is fucking English. Like they say the same sentence, but with like 3 different tonal variations, and it's like one of them is really sweet and wholesome, and one of them is really sarcastic and disparaging.
No, right? That's actually what I find easier about Mandarin and other tonal languages is that you have a prescribed way of saying the phrase that you don't have to wonder how your intonation is with like emotions and stuff. You don't have to throw emotion into the sentence because you have to say it a certain way every time, which is kind of nice. But
I bet that's like a dream for an autistic person. Anyway, sorry, my little sidetrack on language for a minute there. Any volunteers to teach me Spanish? I'm not going to pay you, but all right. We've got a couple more callers. We're going to go ahead and get through them, and then super chats, $5 or more. Get them read out. Get your votes in. Let's go with Owen, him from Arizona, who wants to talk about how we can speak to religious people about the topic of gendered souls. Owen, you're live on the line. How's it going?
Hi. Yeah, it's going good. How are you guys?
Sleepy.
We're here. Yeah.
I'm just gonna say the same thing every time because it's still true. I'm fucking tired.
It's still true. What can we do for you?
So I guess my question, I'm not entirely sure how to word my question. I grew up Mormon and didn't really have a sense of like my own gender for a while until I kind of realized I was probably trans and started transitioning. And after that, I started feeling like, oh, maybe I do have something. And the only language I can use is like a soul, but I'm atheist and don't actually believe I have a soul. So that's one of my problems. I don't know how to talk about my own sense of gender as I've been transitioning. Most of the people in my life are Mormon, and their view of gender is entirely soul spirit based, not biology or social. Those interact, but when I talk to them, if you kind of say like, oh, intersex people and like exist and are real, and there's all of these other things like it's gender and sex are a spectrum. They kind of like wave it off and they go, but the prophet said they will just go to that, and it's something about eternal spirits and stuff. And so when I've had those conversations, even though I have used the language of like my soul feels male when I'm like, as I've been transitioning, I don't want to use that because then it turns the conversation into scripture, and I don't care for that. And so what I have done is whatever they think my soul is, if my brain works on testosterone, then I think my brain might be male. So whatever a female soul is that interacts with a male brain and a female body, what is that? And they go, well, that does sound like a mess. Like, yeah, yep, thank you. And I just don't really like that interaction. It doesn't feel true to me. It feels like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with all of that. Curious if you guys like have a good way of talking about gender identity and how to bridge that gap with like spiritual language with other people without it feeling like untrue. I don't know. Curious what your thoughts are.
You look like you wanted to jump in, Ben.
It's a hard one, and it kind of depends on the person. But I think there's some other analogies you can use to kind of communicate, like sense of self. I think names is kind of a good way to bridge that because it is a social construct, just like gender is. But in that, we have our own internal sense of this is my name, even though it's like it's kind of inconsequential, like whatever your name is. Like someone just assigned that to you one day, and most people deeply internalize, what your name is, and they feel like this is my identity. So if you have somebody like, it's very hard to explain to somebody like why you feel attached to your name, like why that feels like you, and it can be kind of nebulous, and that's kind of, I don't know, my relationship with gender, and I don't know if y'all have similar experiences with gender, but it's this nebulous thing that you get assigned one of the options and then you may or may not identify with that. So, I mean, in any of these cases, it's just finding an analogy that'll kind of bridge that gap. And so that's one that's worked for me. I know that like the gendered soul argument is not great, and a lot of especially gender criticals will rely on a gendered soul argument for like to kind of get out of the biological essentialism piece. But sometimes, like for some people, as long as it's clear that like this is an analogy and not how I literally think about it, could potentially still be helpful. I don't know. Lux, do you have any like other analogies you like to use?
I mean, I feel like I'm okay using the language that somebody understands and like to get them on board with something. So like if I were to be talking to a religious person, if that's convincing, if I'm like, listen, God doesn't make mistakes, okay? I feel very strongly that I should be this other thing that I wasn't born as, which tells me that like God put this in me. Like, I wouldn't be feeling this way because God is my creator. Like, I'm fully willing to just fucking use their language, even though it kind of is dishonest of me. I wouldn't mind, though, because I'm just like, how can I get this across to a person in the way that they understand it and that they're going to be able to process that down? You could, I don't know, like with the religious people, because they believe in souls, like I do feel like that is a pretty good angle, but they're Mormons. So I don't really think you're going to get very far with those people because the things that they believe are insane. It's like, oh, did Jesus come to America? Well, he didn't say anything about the two-spirit indigenous practices here, so it must be good and fine, right? Like, Jesus must be on board if he came to America and he was like, yeah, this is fine. Everybody, all these males living in a female role in two-spirit societies, like, yeah, that's a good thing. Like, okay. So, yeah, I just don't know how far you're going to make it with them. And so as far as actually convincing them that you intrinsically are something that they don't think that you are or whatever, like, if you could maybe just shift the argument over to like, look, I don't need you to believe on some profound level that I have a male soul. I just need you to be respectful of me when we speak. I just need you to refer to me in this way. I want to keep this relationship. I'm trying to maintain this relationship, and it will be much easier for me to continue having a relationship with you if you stop badgering me about this. If you stop treating this thing that I'm experiencing on an intimate, personal level as like an intellectual or theological debate. I'm really not interested in that conversation. And like, if you're not willing to call me my name or you're not willing to use my pronouns, then I'm going to limit contact with you. Like, you can take it from this philosophical conversation to a practical conversation of like, look, we don't agree. I don't need you to agree with me, but I do need you to respect me. And if you won't respect me in the way that I'm asking, then the relationship is going to have to change.
Yeah, I hadn't thought that I could actually just place a boundary there.
Yes.
That might be something I
Yeah.
Because, I don't like having to defend, it is a very personal thing. I don't like having to defend it from their theological viewpoint that I used to have. Like, it's really painful to try and get back in that mindset and try to, use all these words of Mormon prophets as if they say anything true.
Yeah.
So that's good advice.
Yes, you have permission to set boundaries and to not continue to litigate your existence over and over again with the people who are supposed to be loving and supportive of you no matter what, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Owen,
I guess,
thanks for giving us an opportunity to talk about Mormonism and how shit it is.
Oh, yeah, I'm always down for that.
Totally. Do you have any last questions or closing remarks before we get close to wrapping up the show?
No, I think that's great. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, let us know how it goes. If you can get them off your back about this, I would love to hear that some advice that I gave actually helped any situation because it feels like everything we do is completely futile right now. So yeah, if you got good news later, let us know.
Yeah. I will. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Owen. Bye-bye. Okay, we're about to take our last caller. Get those likes in while you still have a chance. Get those super chats in while you still have a chance. We've got the vote up in the poll in the chat if you want to vote for the punishment today. Okay, so we have either American football is feminist, Baldur's Gate 3 is the worst game, or dragons suck. Looks like American football is winning by quite a large margin. So whoever loses this vote of the super chat votes, they will have to defend the position that American football is actually feminist. So that's going to be a fun one. Make sure to get those votes in while you can.
Yep.
And we'll take our last caller, who is Gail from Spain, he, him pronouns, who wants to discuss internalized transphobia. Gail, am I saying your name right? You're live on the line.
Yes. I mean, sort of, but it's okay.
All right, you're a little bit quiet.
Can you hear me?
Okay, there we go. That's a little better.
Okay. Yeah, it's not exactly, but it's okay. It's Gael.
Gael. Okay, thank you. Thank
Gael.
you.
Mm.
Awesome. Well,
What
go ahead
is
and tell
your
us what
question?
your what's your question?
Yeah. I wanted to ask if you know ways of dealing with internalized transphobia. And for me, specifically, I'm non-binary. So a lot of it is non-binary phobia, I guess you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily,
Is there anything
we have
in
a non-binary
particular?
person here.
Yeah, we do have a non-binary person
Yeah.
here. Is there anything in particular that you're having a tough time with?
Yeah. I struggle with feeling like being non-binary is worse than being a trans guy, I guess. And there's this model of what people imagine when they think of a non-binary person that I don't relate to, and I think logically I know that just because something makes me feel bad doesn't make it bad, you know. But I struggle a lot with that, and I wish I didn't because it just makes me feel like an asshole when I'm
Sure.
thinking bad about, you know, trans people and about myself. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will say I think that it is more challenging in some ways to be non-binary. Like, you know, for binary trans people, there's a more clear idea of, you know, where you're headed toward, especially in societies that are very strict gender binary, like men are like this and women are like this. And I don't really know what it's like in Spain, actually. I've got this idea in my head of like, obviously Mexican families that I have personal experience with do have this really strict gender binary. I don't know if it's quite as bad in Europe, where it feels like things are a little bit more progressive on average. But like we live in a world where we're constantly receiving bad messages about being trans, and it can really mess people up. Like I know another trans YouTuber, Ash Hardell, there were people accusing Ash of basically you know, having Peter Pan syndrome, or like being attracted to people who look really young because they basically just like happen to look very young, even though they're in their 30s. And that the constant receiving of that message started to change how they thought about themselves. And they were like, oh, am I actually doing something wrong? Am I actually messed up somehow? So I don't think you should beat yourself up too much for feeling internalized transphobia, because we are constantly receiving messages, whether it's from family or from politics or online. It's just kind of all bad all the time. And so I think the best way to combat that internalized transphobia is to meet other trans people and try to get support and try to be in spaces where it feels normal and okay. Because you need like that positive message to at least balance, if not outweigh, the negative messages that you're getting, which is really hard to do, and it's going to require you to do work to make yourself feel like, or to surround yourself rather with positive messages. You know, being around trans people who love themselves and who are excited about their transition and things, like finding all those moments of joy, I think is really important.
Yeah. I think for me, I guess there are some messages, but I don't feel like I've gotten that external message a lot of, you know, of that would make me feel think this way. But yeah, I guess the only way to help is just talk to people. I do have trans friends, but they're trans guys, which I, you know, feel really comfortable with them, but obviously they don't relate to specifically, you know, stuff about non-binary.
Yeah. It's like close enough. Sometimes, like, I used to watch a lot of content from trans men because that was the direction that my transition was going. And I was like, I can relate to that feeling that you have when you're 6 months on testosterone. But it is still, it's just kind of, I'm next to trans men, but I'm not in the group. And so it still feels a tiny bit alienating. But I think even that is better than not having any trans community around you at all. And I'm very happy that you have at least some trans guys who it's like you might not share all of the same experiences, but even in the trans man group, they don't all share the same experiences. You know, some of them want surgery, some of them don't. Some, you know, some like people who are people of color are going to have a different experience than people who are white. So, you know, don't worry too much about finding people who are exactly like you. If there are people around you who love you and affirm you and who you feel relatively comfortable around, like I would say that you are definitely in a good position in that way. And just, you know, doing the mental work of, I guess, gratitude. If you're like, I'm grateful that I get to have this unique experience, even though it's really hard, or I got this medicine and I'm starting to see my transition and I'm grateful for every tiny chin hair that pops up, you know, literally your brain works in ways where it's like the things that you think about are the things that you're going to think about later. So the more you think about positive things, the more you basically are going to be able to think about positive things later. So it feels really silly. I think it feels really like silly or goofy. It feels kind of dumb sometimes to be like, I'm going to sit here and think about something in my life that I'm grateful for right now. But it genuinely changes your neural pathways and it will make it easier for you to be happy. So just, you know, get into that mental exercise of, you know, seeing the joy in it and going, I'm happy or I'm proud. Even if you don't feel that yet, if you just say it to yourself, it does make a difference over time.
Okay. Thank you. I really love the show, so thank you both and to the other ones.
Yeah, and thank you for calling.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm sorry that things are tough across the whole world right now, and I'm really glad that you have that community of trans guys. Just devote your attention to that and make sure that you have those connections, because as people, you know, trying to make our way in the world, we need people who have our backs. So I think you're starting off from a really good place, Gael. I think you're on the right track, and I think that you're in a good place as well. Spain is like pretty good as far as queer and trans rights, and you always have the option to hop over to any other European Union country if things are weird where you are specifically. So just know that there's a lot of bright hope for the future, and that together is the way that we're going to get to that bright future. So call us back if you have any other questions in the future. But for now, I think it's getting kind of late in the evening for you, so we'll go ahead and let you go.
Yep.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Have a good day.
Okay.
All right.
Those conversations are tough.
I do need to take a small bio break before we
I will
launch
too, but it's fine. You can go ahead. Yeah, we'll both do the bio break and then we'll get into the super chats.
Okay, we'll swap. Cool.
In the meantime, so it's time. It's that time. We're going to do super chats. So get in those votes, $5 or more super chats. We will read them out loud and you can get the vote with your hashtag Team Ben, hashtag Team Lux. The loser is going to have to defend the silly position. Yeah, I think American football is feminist, actually, is the position that we're going to have to support. So that's going to be a nightmare for whoever has to do it. And I encourage you all to get in with those votes. That's also like a way for you to support the show. I know that I'm kind of trumping up the votes thing today, but if you support the show, you're directly supporting trans people. If you're like, I'm an international caller and I'm not sure how to help, if you donate to this show, that money gets split up between the trans people who work on this show. So if you want to help us, that is a great way to directly support the physical, tangible well-being of trans people. But, you know, it also gives you moral absolution. If you've ever accidentally misgendered someone, donate $5 and you will be forgiven. I will be the official trans monarch, and I will pardon you for your crimes. So do it. You can also like the show if you want to. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. Oh, by the way, I don't usually plug my stuff, but if you weren't here at the beginning of the show, when we get done here, you should go watch my I Saw the TV Glow review. Even if you haven't seen the movie, I think it's a really interesting discussion of trans allegory and dysphoria. So yeah, movie reviews. If you're as cooked on trans issues as I am. Hello, Ben. You're back.
What did I walk into? I'm back.
I was
So
just
now
plugging
am I
my
trying to
own
vamp about
content.
stuff?
Yeah. You can
Plugging
vamp
your
now.
own
I'll go.
content. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'll plug some of my content. So I've been streaming more recently on Twitch. I've been playing simulation games. I got some fishing games. Been playing some cooking simulator games. So definitely hang out there. And also trivia nights on Fridays at 9:30 Eastern time. 9:30 p.m. Eastern time specifically. And then my YouTube show. And I am going to be releasing a new YouTube show that you all should go watch. And it's basically inebriated Bible stories and other religious stories. So I'll let you all know when the first episode is actually coming out, but it's going to be super, super exciting. So it's pretty much it. I saw already in the super chats, we got some British stuff happening today. We'll see if Lux or I have to say that one, but looking forward to that as always. I'm also kind of confused how we got to the movie topic, but I've been watching Halloween movies lately. So if anyone has a favorite Halloween movie and wants to super chat that in and tell me what your favorite Halloween movie is. I know in October I will usually try to watch as many Halloween movies as possible. It's not October yet, but I have already started with Nightmare Before Christmas because I mean it's a classic. You got to watch that one. I'm trying not to watch Corpse Bride too many times because it's probably my favorite movie is Corpse Bride, but I can't watch that every day because I know it'd just be too much. Others, I'm wearing my Ghostbusters shirt. People are seeing that. Yeah. We started talking about movies. So I was talking about movies.
Yeah. I was like, I did a movie review. You should go watch it.
Oh, yeah. Do
you want to start us off?
Movies. Yeah, I'll go. I did see Mr. Boricua send in some British for somebody, so we'll have to get to that.
We'll find out.
$49.99 from Narcissa. Being off social media is a good thing. Thank you for everything you do. Yes, being off social media is a blessing right now. Take those opportunities to go touch some grass, smell some flowers, smell some grass, touch some flowers, whatever you're going to do.
I'm so bad about it. I'm like, I have the problem, like the ADHD, like I have to check what's on there. Or like I'll be in bed for like 2 hours before I even get up in the morning because my symptoms are shit in the morning anyway. Struggle. Thank you for the 5 units from Mystic Minds Analysis Tavern. We need people who will fight back against the narrative that being trans is a harmful / destructive ideology. No more empty platitudes. We need action. True.
Yes.
Yep. And there's all kinds of different things that you can do. You can convince people who are wrong, or you can just show up and show that trans people are good and helpful. We need all kinds of different people doing all kinds of different things right now.
Yep. $20 from Ray Lee. Just read the news that the big pile of shit bill was passed in Congress. I'm going to give some of my money directly to my trans peeps. #Team MB, #Team Lux.
Did it actually pass? God damn it, they did.
Did the House passed it? Dang.
Yeah. Wow. Jiminy Christmas. I really thought it wasn't going to. Also, like they gave special something or other to Alaska, and that like the fact that they did something special for Alaska means that the vote should have been 60 instead of 50 in order for it to pass the Senate. So they just are ignoring their own fucking rules. Anyway, I need to stop talking about that. Thank you for the 5 Canadian from Quantum Chaos. Says, Dr. Ben, have you played Spray Paint Simulator? It's basically PWS, but backwards. Also, #Team Lux won the coin toss. Excellent work, Lux. Your winner. Good. Thank you.
I've not played Spray Paint Simulator, but yeah, 'cause I was playing Power Wash Simulator, and so I guess Spray Paint Simulator is the opposite of Power Wash Sim. I've not done that, but maybe I will. Show up in my side chat, and maybe I'll play it.
Yeah.
5 pounds from Jessica Doodoo McButtface. I just love this. I love this lore and how this fight keeps going on.
Back and
Lux,
forth.
you said Espeon is great yesterday, so hashtag Lux and Espeon sucks. Hashtag Team Ben. Hashtag Espeon is dead. Hashtag Growl. This is the cutest. Hashtag bite me. Hashtag love you soon. Is that seems like a fence sitter though, because it was for Lux and me. That's I'm a stick.
What is happening to the screen right now?
Arden is typing.
also-
Arden is typing
Oh,
over
okay.
it.
I see. Okay. I also didn't even say Espeon was good. Okay. First of all, I said Sylveon is obviously the trans one. And second of all, I said Eevee is the best. I don't care about your Sylveon fight. I don't give a shit about this.
Wow.
Thank you for the very generous $50 donation from Falcon Storm. Sick name, too. Dr. Ben, my 11-year-old son came out as trans mask. He's already started female puberty, which has given him significant body dysmorphia. I'm doing my best to support him, but I feel afraid for him because of all the news. Any tips on ways to help him?
Yeah, this is tough. Depending on what state you're in, I definitely support, getting him into like a really good psychotherapist and also working with your primary care pediatrician to figure out it might be appropriate to look at puberty blockers. That might be an option to go through endocrinology for that. It's a bit early, being 11, to immediately start thinking about like contraception for the purpose of like stopping periods. But if your son has already started a period, that's something that you can like think about. I know the guidelines are kind of like the actual approval for like hormonal contraception is like around 15 and 16, but for the use of period suppression, like you could use it earlier. So I'd recommend talking with a pediatrician about that. Start looking into like safe methods of binding. If that's a direction that you want to go, just be aware that like binding over long periods of time, like especially if you're starting that young, it can like have impacts, on your spine health. It can have impacts on surgery outcomes in the future. So like this early on, I would probably hesitate like from like full on binding. I don't know if you should start doing that right away, but talk with your pediatrician. I think that's going to give you kind of the best advice moving forward.
I will add a little bit onto that as well, which is alternatives to binding. There is trans tape, which is very similar to kinesiology tape, which can be used for like to just kind of move things around a little bit, especially if you're super young. It shouldn't be like a significant amount of growth yet. But if you are going to get a binder, it needs to be limited to no more than 8 hours per day. And you need to check frequently that binder still is the appropriate size, because your child is growing and you do not want them in a binder that is too small, whether that's like their breast tissue has grown or whether it's their rib cage. There are, rib deformation problems that can occur from binding too long. So there are some other solutions to that. But yeah, being supportive in the home is the most important thing, and trying to shelter your kid and give your kid lots of opportunities to do kid things. Like make sure to preserve their childhood for them as much as possible, I think is a really significant thing to do. And make sure that they know that no matter what direction they want to go, you're going to do your best to stand behind them and support them. If they end up deciding, they're non-binary later, or if they're like, maybe I am not trans later, like make sure that they know that any opportunity for growth for them is a good opportunity for growth. And just, make sure you're doing things in the way that is like medically the safest for your kid as possible. I would assume that at age 11, if they're starting menses, that would be cisgender justification for puberty blockers. So you might not even need to bring up the trans thing. That's my assumption, but I don't know. I don't have a kid.
But yeah. Talk with your medical team, and they can help point you in the right direction.
Totally.
Also, sorry, Ben, you deserve a point. Doo-doo McButtface Poopy Pants, when I was translating her true meaning, I forgot to include that there was Team Lux and Espeon sucks, but then Team Ben, so I feel like that's pretty unambiguously a vote for Team Ben.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I will take it. $5 from Zereth Moonpaw. Dr. Ben, I must ask, what are your man tendencies? Mine are groceries take one trip only, and I show love my friends with just vulgar jokes. Definitely, like, especially since like transitioning, I've been less cool with physical touch. I don't like a lot of like huggy touchy things. But that also is kind of my neurodivergence as well. But also I do like just occasionally sitting in the garage just like with a cooler and a beer. And also I've become grill dad this summer. I've become grill dad, and no shame. So I guess there's that. But don't let your gender stop you. Anybody can be grill dad. Grill dad is an energy. It's not a gender. It's just dad energy. Grill dad energy.
You're gonna be so sad if you move to the West Coast and there's all these fucking rules around when and where you can grill because of all the fires.
Yeah.
It's like we're entering, like, if I wanted to go camping, I wouldn't be allowed to have a campfire season because everything just gets so dry here. Yeah, crazy.
Colorado was like that too. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Stupid climate change getting in the way of me being grill dad. Son of a bitch. Anyway, $5 from Mira G. Thank you. Says, love my Lux and Ben shows. # Team Ben because F to the situation. True.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Agreed.
I feel like this would be a close match again. Like with you and me, it's always like
it always is
really
it's
intense.
neck and neck.
$5 from YouTuber Grudge. # Team Ben. Trans mask rep. Gotta go with my boy. Sorry, Lux.
I'm technically trans mask, everybody, just because I am long hair. Anyway. $5 from Space Barbarian. Thank you. It says, do you think progress can be defined as learning to stop caring about things that don't matter? # Team Dog. Ooh, that's an interesting concept. Like that progress means like not quibbling about shit that doesn't matter anymore. Of course, we're deciding what doesn't matter. Of course, there are people out there who really think that the scary immigrants are a big deal and that matters a lot. So from that perspective, like that's progressive or like, I don't know. It's so weird.
It's interesting.
I have to think about that more.
I'm going to think about that tonight. $5 from Zereth Moonpaw. # Team Puppy Big Boy B. Big Boy
Baby.
Big Boy Baby.
Thank you for the £5 from Sean Isherwood. You should go get the boy? Yeah, you can if you want to while I read mysterious math incantation. You're welcome to. The finite sequence 5, 11, 17, 23, 29 is only one of 5 primes with a difference of 6 because one of n plus 6, n plus 12, n plus 18, and n plus 24 is a multiple of 5. Guys, the last time I took a class that was a math class was my sophomore year of high school. So I am just, every single time we do this, I'm like, yeah, that certainly seemed like words. I have no idea what hellish summoning spell I have just uttered, but we're doing our best. And by best, I mean, I refuse to do math. Actually, I have my alarm clock app, the one that I specifically sought out because I wanted an app that I could be like, I want you to speak words instead of making like music. So I will tell it what to say. So it'll be like, it is time to wake up or whatever it is that I told her to say. But one of the things that it does is it has all these settings for things that you would need to do in order to dismiss the alarm. You can hit snooze all day if you want to, but in order to dismiss the alarm, I have it set to where I have to answer a math question.
He has the zoomies. Yeah, he's trying to bite my face off. All right, go back outside.
He's so much bigger. Already, he's so much bigger.
I'll let him outside.
Okay, no worries. But yeah, so technically I do math every morning where I'm like, I have to be like, okay, what was it? Like 5 times 5 is 25 plus 31. That's me. Like I'm in my bed. I'm like, how do I do math? So you got to keep yourself sharp. There's all this talk about ChatGPT making your brain turn into soup. And I I do think that the lack of thinking is causing some amount of atrophy. But also, when you're looking at the study that says ChatGPT is making your brain soup, consider that everybody is catching a communicable disease multiple times a year that is demonstrably proven to cause brain damage. So maybe it's not just ChatGPT. Hi,
Is
welcome
this one
back.
for me to read?
I guess, sure.
Yeah, it's related to me. So $10 from Skeptoidius, who has been showing up in my side chats lately. I'd love for you two to meet my friends Pat and Cadence. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben, hashtag Beef Kebabs. Yeah, the Beef Kebabs thing is because I was playing Rap House Simulator on my Twitch, and Skeptoidius is there, so yeah.
Thank you for the $5 from Zurith Moonpaw. It says hashtag first to get their boy on camera. Well, I already lost this one because you brought the boy, so you get the vote. This one is a blowout, and we don't normally have this.
Yeah, no, I'm sure yours are coming. $49.99 from Narcissa. Thank you for that generous donation. Jack is at best a chaser. His objectification of her cannot feel good to her. He might also be a troll. Yeah. Yeah.
It takes a lot for me to be like someone is a troll. Like, you guys will say it so much faster than I will think it. You guys are like, oh, this is a troll. And I'm like, guys, give him a chance. You know, I think he's just a freak. Like, I mean, and I say that with love. I think he might just be a freak who like is in a relationship with someone who's kind of a freak. And like, I don't feel bad, you know, like if a trans woman is like, yeah, I kind of find it sexy, the idea that I've turned a straight man gay, like whatever, it's taboo. Again, it's all about that, like, how can we make things exciting and everything? Like, I think he was just like genuinely kind of a freak, and that's okay, but not the place for it. Here, I don't think so.
Have you guys seen that trans TikToker? I think her name is like Deandre. She's been putting out this song that's like, if you think I make you gay, you probably are.
No, I haven't seen that. It sounds amazing.
It's really funny. She's done videos with like Vivian Wilson and stuff about it. It's worth checking out.
I love that. £5 from Sean Isherwood says, oh no, again, the square root of the factorial. I know that it's probably factorial of natural n is never an integer unless n equals 0 or 1. I'm at a research conference in the south of England right now. It's fun. Well, good for you. I hope that you're having a wonderful time. Yeah.
Have fun with your math conference. $5 from Sentient Tree. Love hearing Dr. Ben explain things. Hashtag Team Bros before it's. Sorry you didn't get a vote, Lux, but will you show us the void? I don't think Lux is going to show you the void after you didn't vote for it.
I think that there is a hashtag Team Void Kitty coming up at some point, so it will happen, but it has to. There's a summoning spell that you have to cast. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Another math incantation. This is the third one. I'm like, I don't know what I'm saying. Thank you for again another £5. The factorial of n denoted n is 1 times 2 times 3 times n, but 0 is defined to be 1 as it is the product over the empty set. I feel like the exclamation mark meant something else, but I chose to interpret it with excitement.
I loved it. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
$10 from Jamnico6. Holding bigots accountable does not equal bullying. Search Chuck on the line for attack helicopter clip. It's epic. The live chat was on fire too. Arden approved. Flame spam.
Fire emoji spam. Yeah.
Fire emoji spam. Okay. Hashtag forest fire. Hashtag Team Void Kitty. So there you go. There's your incantation spell to get.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go watch that clip later and see Forest absolutely pop off on somebody.
I'll just keep reading until Lux comes back. 5 Australian from Puggles without a comment. Thank you for your super chat. Oh, and of course I get this because Lux is away. $50 from Mr. Boricua 10. Oh, good, Lux is back. This is yours.
Oh no! Look at
I
this
almost
giant
did it,
baby.
and then you came back right on time.
Nice. $50. Thank you so much. Very generous, Mr. Boricua 10. British. Oi, Jack, what the bloody hell was that? Are you off in the deep end trying to search for your neurons? Have you lost it? Gone 6s and 7s? Fetishizing your partner's status? What gives, bruh? Fancy a little bit of American football fetish then? Hashtag Dr. Ben. Thank you.
You went a little bit Irish for some of that, and I liked it.
I love the Irish accent. It's actually really easy to do as an American.
5 Australian for Puggles. Oh, it's a trans flag. Thank you so much.
Trans flag.
Trans flag.
Woo! Thank you for the $5 from Cactus, Vegas Pam, Cactus, no comment. Thank you. I appreciate that.
$20 from El Chemist. Hey, I'm transitioning, but I don't know what labels I want to present socially. Best I have is transmasculine, and I want to build up the courage to ask for he, they pronouns. How do you bring that up in conversations? Hashtag Team Ben. I mean, if you're around people that are supportive, it's pretty easy. You can just go around the room and ask everybody's pronouns, and then you can say yours. And it's, I know it's intimidating at first, but once you do it, the first few times, you'll hopefully get used to it.
True. Thank you for the very generous $50 again from Narcissa, who says, I love it. Let's do some awesome trans absolutions. Money, money, money. Oh, yeah. You were gone earlier in the bathroom, but I was like, if you get your super chats in, I'm the monarch of trans, and I will absolve you for accidentally misgendering people. So, man, for
okay.
$50, you get 10 absolutions. You get 10 times that you've messed up, and accept that you're trans. So are these transferable absolutions? I'll accept that. I'll accept transferable absolutions. Yeah, totally. Thank you.
Starting our own religious traditions here.
Yeah, exactly.
5 pounds from Chasing Lamely. I'm gonna casually hashtag Team Lux to explain American football's deeply fetishist feminist. Why did I say fetishist? I was thinking about the other guy. That would be a funny one, though. Football's fetishist roots. Can we do that one as
that would be fun.
I was thinking too much about chasers. But guys that both have brilliantly helmed the show tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. $5 from JW Edgy. Thank you. Says, missed the entire stream. Catch up tomorrow. Started HRT last week. Very excited. Have fun. Hashtag Team Lux. Oh, I still have characters left to say something important. True. Thank you. And congratulations on starting HRT. That is it's a challenging thing to do in this day and age. I have so much respect for people who are like, yeah, I'm going to start my transition during the beginning of the apocalypse.
Yeah. $10 from Jax TKB. I never know how to pronounce this. I can never come up with anything witty, so here's some money. Hashtag non-binary. Hashtag transmask self. Hashtag Team Lux. See, it was just skewed to the front for the Team Bens, and now the Team Luxes are coming in.
It's true, they are. €5 from W says, thanks. Sorry about the mic. Hashtag Team Lux. I don't know who you were, but yeah, it's fine.
I'm gonna guess it was the last caller. Yeah, we had some really bad audio from the last caller, so it's probably that one.
I was having a hard time focusing a little bit. It wasn't their fault. It was just stuff happening in the background or something. But yeah, no worries. We figured it out. $5 from Falcon Storm. Oh, did I read the last one and I goofed?
Is it me?
Doesn't matter.
I don't remember anymore.
Unless Mr. Boy gets another one in, it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah. Thank you both so much. We're doing what we can. Alaska. Oh, you're in Alaska. Alaska's mostly libertarian, but there are conservative a-holes that poison their kids' minds. Hashtag Team Evie. Yeah, sorry about that. And that's a hard state to, just go across the border to somewhere else. So my condolences there.
All right, totally. I was going on a map the other day on stream. I was like, when the country falls apart, which states are going to build coalitions? And I didn't even think about Alaska. I guess you're just going to become Canada. That's what's going to happen.
Which would not be a bad thing.
What were you saying, Arden?
I was saying buckle up, kids, because we have a vote spammer in chat.
Mm-hmm. I've been seeing that.
I'm so sorry, Ben. You're about to get dog stomped.
It's okay. I've had the Ben 10 happen before, so this is Lux's equivalent of the Ben 10.
It's balancing. Yeah.
5 Canadian from Untitled Final Version to this version. Hashtag Team Lux.
True. If that's not some true shit, it's like any artist or anyone who works with digital files, it's like, version 2, final for real this time. Final draft. Yeah.
I do that on all of it. If you guys saw the names of some of the Lions file names, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've just switched to 1, 2, 3, etc. Like I had my I Saw the TV Glow review and I had the copyright run around, so I just had like version 1, version 2, and then honestly, I just kept replacing V2, and I was like, all right, that's fine. Let's just keep replacing V2 because it doesn't matter. Thank you again for the 5 Canadian from Untitled Final V2 this version. Team Lux 2.
The intro thing on all the lines clips, the little swirly thing that happens at the beginning of our clips, that I'm pretty sure that is line intro final 3.
Nice.
So this one they sent twice, 2 separate super chats that are both Team Lux 3. There's 2 separate ones there.
Well,
They're
5
both
Canadian
3.
from Untitled Final V2 this version. Team Lux 3. There you go.
Team Lux 3.
Yep.
Team Lux 4.
Which is
This
secretly
is just
5.
for a while. It is secretly 5, yeah.
Secretly 5. And here's the imposter 5, Team Lux 5.
Is it even really 5? Thank you for the 10 Canadian from Ayla Ursus, who says, Lux 2 days in a row is awesome. Team Dragon. Thank you. Yeah, I had a lot of fun on the hang up last night. I had never done a show with Matt before. That's the first time I've done any show that wasn't TACIS on here. And it was a good time, and I would be happy to do it again.
Hey. $10 from Ace Arrow Anarchist. Couldn't call in because I was stuck at work, but question for Team Lux, Team Cat. How do I know if I'm agender versus just doing it as a bit? Are you okay sharing some of your MB experience? Thanks.
I mean, so I identified as genderqueer for like more than a decade because I felt like that. So first of all, that was the term that we used before non-binary was popularized. We were genderqueer as a community. But then we started lilting more toward non-binary as a broad categorization for the entire group. And then genderqueer kind of became a specific gender identity within that group. And I identified as genderqueer and my sexuality as queer for a really long time because it to me meant like I can do whatever I want with gender. And there, what did I used to say? I used to say like I'm kind of a guy and kind of a girl, but kind of both and also neither. And I just kind of got tired of thinking about it. And then I was like, oh, I think actually I don't even know if I have a specific feeling of gender. So it's like, does it make sense to put myself in this place where there's tension between boy gender and girl gender and all this? And so I'm just like, oh, I don't care about any of this. And I'm going to dress however I want, and I'm going to pursue transition in whatever way makes me the happiest. And so that's kind of where I've landed is like, I'm agender because I don't even know that there is one gender, or like genderqueer itself is kind of an umbrella term that just means whatever the hell you want it to mean. So, I mean, if you're just like tired of shit, I would say agender is the label for you. That's how I feel anyway.
My gender is no.
My gender is stop.
I'm going to speed run these next few spams. So there is 1 for Lux, 2,
Team Lux 6,
Team Lux 7,
Team Lux 7,
Team Lux 8, Team Lux 9. That's what 4 votes there.
This is almost embarrassing. Like this almost feels bad. I'm like, oh, this is how you felt.
I've done this to you though. I've done that. I've done this for you though. $5 from Jax to KB. What is Dr. Ben's Twitch name? I have to make sure I get the underscore in the right place because there's a lot of Bens out there. It is dr_Ben H on Twitch.
Okay.
If you want to go find me.
If one of the mods can put it in chat too, that'd be great. Also, we usually spam everyone's links throughout chat, but yeah.
Yeah, we've had a little bit fewer moderation people in here today, which is fine. It's a volunteer position, but it's all good. Also, hashtag at Luxander Real or whatever my fucking channel name is so that you can watch my movie reviews. Anyway, thank you for the £5 from the Fuzzy Logic. Oh, do what?
I can take this one if you because this is specifically related to my Twitch stream.
Oh yeah, no, please go ahead.
So the Fuzzy Logic was in my Twitch side chat. Looking forward to another round of beer, band, or bud, Team Doggo. So we play a game as part of trivia night. I've done it a few different times where I give you a title and you have to guess if it is the name of a beer, a band, or a bud. And it's absolute chaos because I pick craft beers, indie bands, and all strains of marijuana. So It does get
strains.
it does get very difficult. Yeah, it gets very difficult, but it's super fun. So if you want to play Beer Band or Bud, and I think the Fuzzy Logic actually won this last week of Beer Band or Bud. So come hang out and play that. It'll be a great time.
I love that. That's awesome. I think that would be a fun like game show if you brought on like a couple of guests. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Oh yeah, I do that if you want to be on the panel. So
ooh, yes, that would be fun.
Week. Yeah.
I need to do more collaborations. I'm just really bad at coming up with ideas. Like I would never have come up with the thing that you're doing. I'm like, whatever. I just want to talk for 4 hours uninterrupted. Thank you for another donation. Hashtag Team Lux 10. Thank you very much. Untitled Final V2 this version.
Team Lux 10.
I was going to put both Ben's and your links in chat, Lux. Is it just your normal channel that you're doing the movie reviews on? It's not a different...
Right now I'm doing specifically queer movie reviews on my main channel. I haven't decided what amount of work I'm doing with Musing Moss right now, or if I'm just going to make the main channel Musing Moss again. But yeah, it's just at Luxander Real if you guys want to find me on YouTube.
Okay. Oh, what the fuck just happened? No.
Oh no.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
Did you break something?
Oh, no.
Yes, I broke something, unfortunately.
No.
Okay, there we go. And it's just another fucking thank you for your support, I say frustratedly. That's 2 votes.
Ben, just mix things up. Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah, it was 1 vote for you and a vote for Ben. My bad.
Yep. Yeah.
Then thank you for the 10 Canadian from Ayla Ursus, who says hashtag Team Dr. Ben.
I don't think we could beat the surge though of the Team Lux.
There's still a bunch coming in. I don't know. Remains to be seen. Or are we getting to the end finally? Nope. There's still a bunch. $9.99 from JW Edgy. Oh,
I think
is that one yours? I can't remember.
JW Edgy. I wanted to wait until post-Trump to start my transition, but I just didn't feel able to keep waiting. Planned Parenthood has been very awesome. Very upset with the attack on Planned Parenthood. Yeah, Planned Parenthood is great. We support them, and it sucks that people keep doing stupid shit.
Yep. You're so brave. Oh my God. Anyway, £5 from Jessica Doodoo McButtface. Evie is good, super cute. It's like some puppies that are cute when young but grow up to be ugly as shit. Hashtag Evie is only for Christmas. Hashtag Team Ben. Hashtag Growlith best. I'm just getting caught up in this. I'm catching strays for no reason.
Yeah. $5 from an alchemist. It is scary to stand up for myself, but I'll try. First with friends. Just took my tea to spite every one of the fascists. Hashtag Team Ben. Yeah. Just try it out with people you're close to. They should be super understanding. And then once you get up more confidence, then you can start using your pronouns in public.
True. Thank you for 10 Canadian from Ayla Ursus. Hashtag Team Underdog. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben.
We're getting closer.
True.
And we have Team Lux 3.
Thank you for all of the donations today. This has been very kind, you guys.
Yeah. We love the back and forth. As much shit as we give each other, we do appreciate it. And it is kind of funny.
And this troll-ass motherfucker sent another one. That's Team Lux 3, so there's actually 2 here.
Team Lux 3?
Oh, so there's actually 2. 5 Canadian from Untitled Final V2 this version. Hashtag Team Lux 3. There we go.
Thank you. 10 Canadian from Ayla Ursus. Hashtag Team Dr. Ben. Bringing it. Combating.
Bringing it.
All of the untitled votes.
Although that is the last one.
Oh.
That's the last one?
That's the last one.
No. Ben.
No.
It's okay.
So it sounds like I have to do the thing.
You have to talk about how feminist American football is.
Feminist. Yeah.
All right, give me a minute.
You meant American football.
Yes.
Yeah, American football. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Let me make sure this is right. On our right is the loser. Sorry, love you. And on the left is the winner. All right, we are charging up that clock in 3, 2, 1.
All right, imagine it sitting there in the bleachers. It's super cold, rainy, maybe snowy. I don't know what state you're in watching American football. But the one thing you came to do is drink beer and watch very big men in very tight clothing kick balls all over the field. And what is more feminist than kicking each other's balls out on the field? So you have these big men, and there's a lot of symbolism in American football that just people don't recognize because they're so focused on the game. But really, the tight pants are symbolically feminist to represent, femininity. It's for men to get in touch with their feminine side and saying, hey, we are allied with you, we support you. Same thing with the helmets that they wear to hide their masculinity, and to also headbutt the patriarchy, and tackle the patriarchy, kick the balls, throw the balls, all the things that we like to do with balls, because we all know that balls are fragile, and so kicking them across the field, kicking a field goal is a great sign of the feminist movement, and people just don't recognize this. The other thing too is people associate beer with men. However, that's patriarchal agenda, because really beer symbolizes lesbians, and you can't go and have a craft IPA and not be lesbian. So therefore, it's actually a symbol of feminism and saying, hey, lesbians, we're in support of you. So think about all those things the next time you go to football, because it's actually feminist and you just aren't seeing the signs.
True. For a second, I really thought you were going to be like, historically, actually, women brewed beer and maybe even invented it, which is actually true. But you went a different. You were like lesbians, and I was like, no, okay, yeah, no.
I went the troll
beer
route
and the whiskey straight. Yeah.
That's another
Awesome.
game that I need to play on my Twitch channel is lesbian or Coloradan, because like all the personality things like overlap so hard.
Carabiners.
Yep.
People mountain climbing, they got the carabiners. That's a new thing I learned about recently is the lesbians.
Yeah,
they wear the keys on the carabiners on their belt, and like different colors mean different things. Queer community is so fascinating.
It's so cool.
Thanks for that last super chat coming in at the end of the show. Appreciate it. Untitled Final V2 of this version. Another hashtag Team Lux, doesn't matter. I already won. But thank you though. And thank you all for joining us today. I have been Luxander. This is Dr. Ben. Please join our Patreon, where you can get your name in the credits here. You get a membership to our Discord and little other secret-y things. Make sure you look at all of our other programming on the line. We've got lots of great shows coming up this next week, including me and Arden on this show next week, which you want to see. So thank you, everybody. We hope you have a good rest of your week.